Welcome back, Fence Fam. So good to see you guys. So glad to see you guys already in the chat. Guys, as you're popping in, let us know you're here by saying hi and let us know where you're from. I think last week was predominantly dominated by Florida and maybe close second by Texas. But of course, a smattering of folks here, there, and everywhere. So good to have you guys here. Now, we got a lot to cover today because this is the last live episode for next month or so. So the next 3 weeks are they all have something going on Saturday, whether it's this upcoming Saturday or a week from today is the AFA Midwest chapter meeting. So we'll be out there. I say we, me and the mouse in my pocket, will be out there. And so Friday night is the chapter meeting. I sit on the board of the Midwest chapter of the AFA. And then Saturday is just general, business people talking about fence stuff. There's a golf tournament in the morning. That's usually a pretty good time. Raises money for the charitable fund for the Midwest chapter of the AFA. And then that afternoon and evening is typically built around or revolves around business people just talking, fence guys talking about fence gals talking about fence. I'm pretty excited. The week after that would be October the 2nd, and my little sister's getting married, and I'm going to be in that wedding. And I have a feeling someone would have something to say. Should I be late for any sort of the festivities if I was involved in this live? So, no live October the 2nd due to Sarah getting married, and I'm in that thing. So we'll do that. Then the week after that is we've got a charity sporting clay tournament. So it's for Sporting Chance, which is kind of a local version of Special Olympics. So those that wouldn't normally get to participate in sporting events, Sporting Chance lets them come on in and have a good time. So we sponsor one of their softball teams, but also sponsors their sporting clay shoot. So, and then the week after that, we're back. So we got 3 weeks of busyness, just assorted, busyness, I guess you'd say. I don't want to say nonsense because one of those is my sister's wedding, and she'd come in here and slap me if she heard me call that nonsense. Anyway, last live for the next month. I'll be back in about a month. Is that right? I'm out for 3 weeks, back in 4 weeks, 4 weeks in a month. Very good. Let's say hello to everybody, see how you guys are doing. Guys, if you have questions or comments, drop them in the chat. I always love saying hello to you guys and talking about what you want to talk about. The first one was kind of interesting. It's been sitting here for a while. Stoner for Life says, I can't make a fence. I dig a canal instead and put trout fish and build a rock wall along it. Rock wall might be called a fence, but okay. I'm kind of primitive, but can your fence bring forth food? Interesting question. So where my mind goes on this is talking about green fences, right? Somewhat like a trellis, but a little bit more sturdy, and usually it's along property lines. We did one of these recently, and they were going to grow vines, and there's going to be some fruit trees in front of it. But the fence itself was they were going to grow like all sorts of crawling vines, fruit vines on it. So possibly now, not as much food as maybe a trout in a canal. I don't know where we were going with that, but anyway, fences could sometimes bring forth food when the right things grow on it, right? Kind of like saying, can a canal bring forth food? Well, if you put the right things in it. All right. Roger's here, of course. Welcome, Roger. Hello, hello, hello. Mark Webster says, good morning. Love it. Of course, Roger's in Texas, just north of Houston, but it's still kind of warm down there. Still warm up here, so I'm betting it's warm down there. What do you say, Roger? Ken says there's two people here, Joe's and people wishing they were Joe. Thanks for your dedication. I don't know about that, Cannon. A lot of people would watch the Cannon and Dan show and think the same thing of you guys. I was talking about you guys the other day. So Cannon and Dan run a great show on Facebook, on the Facebook channel, the Fencing Professionals of the United States. Maybe. They all get confused in my brain. Cannon and Dan show. So Fence Live. It's a great show. It's on Wednesdays now. It used to be on Tuesdays. Believe it's on Wednesdays now. You guys should tune in. You got any vinyl? Little. We got some. What do we have right now? We've got some 6-foot white privacy Believe it's scheduled for a job, though. Have to go check the name on it. We got some 4-foot picket. We got like 60 feet of 4-foot white picket for some reason. If you want it, come buy it. Everything's for sale here. Walt Dennis, good morning to you. I believe I owe you a phone call back. As soon as I saw your name on here, I thought, you know what? I remember seeing a missed call from Walt. I owe him a call. So, Walt, after all this is wrapped up, I'll give you a call. Unless you want to chat about it here. But also, I'll give you a call. Mark Webster says, do you have any tips on installing a double gate on an incline property? All right. So double gates on inclines typically don't work just because let me get this right. So we've got 2 gates on an incline, right? Downhill gate, not a problem. Easy peasy. The uphill gate is going to drag. It's going to hit that incline, and it's not really going to work unless you bring it up. Then it'll work a little bit more. The problem is you're going to be hitting that incline. Double gates on inclines don't work too well. Big single gates on inclines work a lot better, hinged on the downhill post. That would be my tip. What do you guys think? Installing double gates on inclines. Pretty tricky. Pretty tricky. Well, Walt Dennis first says he's ups. Well, I'm sorry that you're ups. I'm even more sorry that you're upset. I'm so sorry. I think you called yesterday. I think I remember seeing that yesterday when I was yesterday we had a sporting clay shoot again. Apparently these are becoming more of a thing around here for the Boys and Girls Clubs. So sorry. So sorry. I will call you. Ken says, I got one for you. Just read it. I took a poll. Turns out 100% of people don't like it when their fence falls down. I'd say 100 out of 100. I'd say you're right. Turns out 100% of people don't like it when their fence falls down. Unless it's an old fence and it saves them a little bit of money on the removal. So maybe like 99.9% of people don't like it when the fence falls down. That 0.1%, they're probably okay with it. They said that fence, been meaning to replace that thing in a while. Fence guys like it when the fence falls down because then they get to go build more fence. There's nothing a fence guy likes more than building fence. Am I right, fence fam? Roger says, nice weather today, 82, the high of 89. Actually, that's probably pretty similar. I think we're 85, 86. And that concludes the weather talk on Joe Everest, a fence expert, live Q&A. ZC says, gates and inclines don't like each other much. That is very true. So, an incline, how do I want to say this? So an incline that runs parallel with the gates, the hands work correctly like that, doesn't work. Now, if it's an incline, so say an incline perpendicular to the fence, am I saying that right? Where you can swing the gates in, if it rises away from the gates, you swing the gates in. If it rises behind the gates, you swing the gates out. That's not a problem. But running gates up inclines. I haven't seen a double gate work very well. What is what, Fence fam? Welcome, Ideal Fence. Glad to have you here. Roger says, double gate on incline, or make a hinge that raises the gate as it swings open. So that's true. Let me think this through. Puts my brain in a pretzel a little bit. So the gate would have to swing as it's coming up. It would have to also hinge up. That top hinge would have to move, right? Am I thinking this through correctly? Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, it puts my brain in a pretzel, and it seems a lot harder than just making one big single gate. So if you had a 12-foot double gate, make a 12-foot single gate. As long as it's chain link. You could do wood 12-foot gates, but they might not be as reliable long term. Chain link, double gate, 12-foot, no problem. Bigger post, bigger hinges, build it like a commercial gate. Good to go. So we've got some pretty big commercial gates out there. We did, what was it? I want to say, I'd have to go check the records. I want to say we did a 30 or a 32-foot single gate. It's been a while. That post was like a 6 5/8 concrete filled schedule 40. It was massive, but it worked. That was the gate that could go in that opening, So had a video. Was it last week's video? Maybe it was last Saturday's video talking about cantilever gates. Because that question comes up: how do cantilever gates work, and what situations are they the best in, and what makes them different than slide gates or swing gates? what I mentioned in that is that each gate kind of has a particular situation, right, that it performs better in. I like cantilever gates a lot because we get snow and ice here. Guys in the South, they like rolling gates. You can put a V track with a V roller on the very front. Those things work like a dream. Since it's a V track, how am I going to explain this one? So inverted V, right? So it looks kind of like a triangle with a roller with a V notched into it. Sits right on that track. Can't move off the track. Can't jump the track or move away. Just a second. So we will just block that user. If you guys are watching on YouTube, apologies. Go ahead and block them. Yeah, so the V notch roller sits on right on that V track and it rolls like a dream. And you don't have to have the 50% tail on the end of the gate either because it's a roll gate. But if you're in an area that has snow and ice, those roll gates are a little bit tricky. So cantilever gates are my go-to unless you don't have the room to roll it. And then it turns into a swing gate, which is what this was. It was a shipping terminal, the 30 or 32 foot swing. It was a shipping terminal, and they just didn't have anywhere to roll that cantilever tail. And the other side, what was it? There was a stipulation it couldn't be a double gate. I don't remember why at the moment. So I think we had to automate it. I think that's, well, I had to go back and check. But anyway, you can do some pretty big single gates if you got big enough posts. James Foster, hello from the UK, man. Hello to you too, James, all the way from the UK. I tell you what, I've got to make a trip out there. I was talking to Dave and Stevie over at D&J Projects a little while ago. We need to have them back on too. I miss talking to those guys about getting me over to the UK. So we'll have to figure out what all the logistics involved with that. Timely question. You keep in touch with the D&J Projects guys? I do. So we WhatsApp. Let's see when the last time we chatted with D&J was. Too long, I'll tell you that. I watch all their videos and I feel like I'm keeping up with them, right? But then I realize I haven't talked to them in a little bit. I've just been watching their video content. They've got good videos. Let's see. It's been a little while. Been a few months. So we need to, a month and a half. Anyway, I need to get back in touch with those guys and have them back on here. It's a father-son duo. If you guys aren't familiar with D&J Projects, you ought to follow them. It's a father-son duo that makes great kind of like day-in-the-life content. We've thought about doing day-in-the-life content here, but my day-in-the-life is a little bit boring around here. Really, it would be a lot of me in front of a computer, either reconciling bank accounts or entering in invoices and updating. That's what we did yesterday or day before yesterday was we entered invoices. Thursdays are the days that Stevens Pipe and Steel shows up at the Ozark Fence Lot. So Thursday afternoon, I take all the invoices and enter them into QuickBooks, which is where we do our accounting, and then update our material list, our material price guide. Price catalog is the term that they use in the office. Getting that thing updated. So a day in the life of Joe is going to be fairly boring, except for on Tuesdays when I record all this content and on Saturdays when I get to chat with you guys. But you already get to tune in on Saturdays and see what this looks like. If you think a day in the life video might be interesting, let me know. But like I said, it's a bunch of office work. I don't get in the field much anymore. I kind of like to. Occasionally I do get in the field. And when I do, that's pretty enjoyable. But then I get behind on office work, and that teaches me that lesson. All right. So, Roger, we're talking about this gate on an incline. Think barrel hinges. Okay. Cut it like a barber, not as extreme. The gate swings as it raises. Okay. So it would rate. Okay. So as it swings, it just raises the entire gate. I like the way this thought's going. So I was thinking that it like pivots, right? But you're saying it lifts the whole gate. I don't even know how to make my hand do that. As the gate opens, it's lifting the whole gate up. Interesting. We'll have to look into that. That's a pretty good thought. Still sounds a little bit more complicated than just one big gate, but sometimes you need two gates because one gate can be just awfully unwieldy. All right. James thinks a day in the life would be interesting. Okay. All right. We'll do it. I think maybe, so what's going on in my brain right now is maybe everyone thinks their life is a little boring until someone else rolls around with them and says it's not, but I don't know. A lot of me sitting in front of my computer. That's what's, but I guess if we're filming one episode a week, that's day in the life, an episode is what, 15, 20 minutes. So we need to find 15 or 20 interesting minutes out of 5 days of work, 4 days, because one day's YouTube recording. That could be interesting. I don't know. Maybe. So, where did our cards go? Hold one. And I'm back. All right. So remember, a few weeks ago, I told you guys the plan was, so we're cutting these episodes up. Let me know if you've seen these yet, but it's called Hot Takes on Wednesdays, because these things are like 2.5, 3 hours. And I understand no one has time to sit and watch me talk for 3 hours. I get it. So what we're doing is we're condensing down. We're cutting out the fluff, the me rambling about, I don't know, rambling stuff, right? And we're condensing it down to the good stuff. We're the meat and potatoes, the golden nuggets, as Sean would call them. And we're playing those on Wednesdays. But the problem is, the problem is Jeremy's got to go through 2.5, 3 hours worth of video. So we're going to make this easier for him, hopefully, by holding up the sign so that he can fast forward when he sees this sign, Vinyl Tech and Masonry. Check those guys out. If you like your sign on the broadcast, go ahead and send it to me. Contact info is in the description. But when I hold the sign up, that tells Jeremy, hey, Jeremy, pause for a second. I got something to tell you. I keep tilting this thing the wrong way. There we go. Jeremy, the people have spoken. They would like a day in the life video. We'll give it a try. Like I said, a lot of me sitting in front of computers, but maybe we can find 15 interesting minutes out of 5 days worth of work. I don't know, possibly. So here's the sign. Hey, Jeremy, let's look into that. Guys, if you guys have ideas for content that you'd like to see, drop those in the comments below. We'll talk about them, and I'll hold up the sign. And when I do that, like I said, that gets Jeremy's attention. And yeah, or if you think something that we talked about is interesting, excuse me, that was breakfast. Let me know. Drop in the comments. I'll say hold up the sign or something, and I'll throw the sign up, and Jeremy will know, hey, this seemed interesting. Anyway, our bucket of ideas for fencing content is running a little low at the moment. So we always go through the comments and emails that we get sent to joe@thefenceexpert.show. That's in the description below as well. Or above, I guess, if you're watching this on Facebook. It'll be in the description above. YouTube on the description below. Let's see who's watching from where. It doesn't say who, shows me. So we got a couple people from Facebook, 4 people on YouTube. So depending on where you're watching, it's right there. All right. Let me know what you guys think. Future content ideas. I'm open to suggestions. Of course, one day a week is, like I said, hot takes. But the other day, the meat and potatoes content, is it lunchtime yet? Because I keep saying meat and potatoes, and that makes me think maybe I'm subliminally ready for lunch. But anyway, so yeah, let me know. If you guys got fence ideas, fence questions, drop them in the comments below. We're in the middle of filming one right now. So we filmed the initial video 2 days ago, Thursday, for fence cleaning. So Stain and Seal Experts, Caleb and the crew sent me some fence cleaning chemicals. Thank you. For an upcoming video. So we cleaned the fence. We did the whole, Caleb calls it a 4-step process, but it's like a 5-step process. It's a bunch of rinsing involved. Anyway, so we got all that done. We'll see. We're letting it dry to come back and do a wrap-up video. We're going to wrap that video up Tuesday while we record some other content. And then, so that one's coming out. Fence cleaning as far as wood cleaner versus eco cleaner versus wood stripper, and then brightener on all of them, of course. And I said wood brightener, and then I questioned it. I was like, well, maybe the eco cleaner, since it's percarbonate, but you'd want to use wood brightener anyways, because one of the things wood brightener does, oxalic acid, is take away rust stains. So those runs you see going down fence boards, takes them away like a magic eraser. So anyway, that video is coming up. If you guys have more video ideas, fence cleaning or whatever, building a fence, let me know. We're certainly entertain it for sure. You do a show following the fence from raw material to final install. This is a very interesting idea. I had something along this line as far as like a fence pickets. But you want to talk about logistics. So I love this idea. Like the life cycle of a fence. How does it become a fence before it becomes a fence? I like this idea a lot. It's just logistically figuring out how to get all that footage. So you'd want to start in a logging area, right, with the trees that are standing up, and follow them through cutting, felling, and then processing and all that. It's going to be a bunch of traveling. And right now, so traveling to, I'd like to do cedar. So a lot of the big cedar companies, big cedar, growing areas. What are those called? Plots? Nope. Not anyway, are in Canada. So getting in and out of Canada might be a little bit tricky. Just with the current state of pandemicness, that's a word, and just moving around in general. So nightmare scenario would be I get stuck somewhere and I can't come home and see the family because some new outbreak has struck. And but this is an incredible idea. So the reason I went wood is it's most of that process happens domestically. So whether it's raw logs getting processed here in the States, up in the Pacific Northwest, or treated pine being produced here even more domestically, that would probably be the easiest one to cover. Chain link or vinyl might be okay. Aluminum's kind of manufactured not from the raw though. See, with wood, you get it like from the step one, which is felling that tree, felling the tree, cutting that thing down. With like aluminum or vinyl, it's like you're going to have to start mid-process somehow. Even if it's only a couple steps behind, you still have to start a couple steps behind the process. I want to do this, Roger. I like this idea a lot. We got to figure out the logistics. Like I said, nightmare scenarios. I get stuck up in Canada and I don't get to see the family and throw my kids around. So we're figuring it out. I like this idea, though. We're on it. It's actually, as he looks at the board, it's actually on there. Actually, the board's flipped around. This is one of those high-tech wide erase boards that dry erase boards that will flip and rotate. So whiteboards, dry erase boards, whatever you want to call them. I called it a wide erase board. Combo of the two. You get it. I don't know if I can talk about this yet, but we've got a really cool idea up there on the board. I think Jeremy's still building out the website for it, so I better not say anything yet. Let's do this. Hey, Jeremy, when can I talk about the really cool idea we're working on? Let me know. But that's what's up on the whiteboard right now, and it takes up the whole thing because it's a really big concept. But, yep. Justin says, so I heard you're coming to Columbus, Georgia. When and where, brother? I am. The day after we get my sister married, I'm jumping on a plane and I'm flying to Columbus. So October 4th, question mark, is a Monday. I believe that's right. I believe the 2nd is a Saturday, so that puts the 4th as a Monday. 3rd is my travel day, so I fly in late the 3rd. 4th, I'm there all day, Columbus, Georgia. More information in the events tab. I shared their event, so it's got all the address and everything there in Columbus. But yeah, it's going to be all day Monday. It's not just myself. It's also Sean King. It's Sean King. I almost said Stephen King. Sean King, Matt Warner, Sanatello, the guys you're used to seeing at Standing University. Caleb, how could I forget Caleb nationally? They're going to be there as well. It's basically like, this is going to sound conceited, but this is how I think about it. It's going to be the dream team shows up at Columbus for this grand opening. And it's a grand opening / 1-day training. So if you guys think 2 days is a bit crammed for content, wait till we try to do it on 1 day. I think this is going to be incredibly insane as far as the amount of information trying to cram into that 1 day. But are you kidding me? We got a spammer again. All right, block user. Sorry about if you're watching YouTube. Sorry about the spam comments, but I'm on it. I blocked them. They're out of here until apparently they create a new account, and then they'll just start spamming dirty words again. Anyway, Columbus, Georgia, 1-day training event. I am stoked. I am so excited for this. Chattahoochee Stain. I would suppose the fence company is going to be called Chattahoochee Fence, possibly. But yeah, Aaron and Sarah down there, really good people. I am so excited. It's going to be a 1-day training. It's going to be all of us show up and just start spouting off knowledge. And then the next day, since Sarah will be on her honeymoon, the next day I'm rushing right back. So it's kind of a bit of a whirlwind, but I am so excited for it. Justin, I hope to see you there. I believe there's registration information in the event. So either at Chattahoochee Stain, or you can go to facebook.com/The Real Joe Everest. The Real Joe Everest gets you to my Facebook page. In my events tab, I've shared their event. So you can just click right to the registration. So go ahead and do that. I'm so excited to see you. Speaking about trainings, there's another training coming up that I am super excited about here in Springfield. I cannot be more excited about this. So for the last couple years, year and a half, 2 years, possibly, question mark, I've traveled around to the other standing universities and other training events going on around the country, just basically talking about video marketing. It's something I'm passionate about, and it's something that I think can arguably make the biggest impact on your business as far as generating new sales. Anyway, I travel around the country talking about that. I think it does pretty well. We get some people fired up and get them producing video content, and every time, 10 out of 10 times, has a positive impact on their business. That is why I'm passionate about speaking about this. But this last time we were talking as a group, and I was like, guys, is there any chance we could do one like here, maybe in Springfield, Missouri? Not that I don't like traveling all over the country. My wife and kids are starting to forget what I look like and who I am. So maybe we have one here. And of course they said yes. I said, we'll put it together and we'll show up. We will be there. So it's happening the last Thursday and Friday of October. Hold one. I want to say October 27th, 28th. I'm horrible with dates in case anyone hasn't noticed. Let us see. Yep. See, that's why I had to consult. 28th and 29th is the Stain and Seal University in Springfield, Missouri. I want to say it's we're working on the title here. So it's Stain University, something you guys are very familiar with, but also I call the business side maybe like the business growth accelerator or the business accelerator, something to that effect. So it's going to be a 2-day training event. We're going to talk about cleaning fence and staining fence. We're also going to be talking about running a staining business, or I'm going to talk about running a fencing business. We're also going to talk about marketing. Concept's going to be a little bit different though. So, or the schedule is going to be a little bit different though. We're going to have less trainers. So it's going to be I almost combined Caleb and Ashley. I call them Ashab or something. Caleb and Ashley, Stain and Seal experts. And then for the staining portions and clean, and possibly some surprise guests on the cleaning. Still trying to confirm that. And then Matt Warner and myself. So we're going to have 3 to 4 trainers in 2 days, because one of the most common pieces of feedback is a 2-day training for at the typical Stain and Seal University is a lot to take in. It's drinking from a fire hose, and I completely understand where you're coming from. So what we're going to try to do is narrow down the content, fewer speakers over the same 2 days, and just give more time for the Q&A dialogue, right? Because I think in between speakers, there always tends to be these little subgroups, right? Typically with each speaker, and we're talking with 3 or 4 other people about whatever we're talking about, there's tremendous value there. Some people would rather not ask a question in a large group setting, but they'll ask it in a group of 3 or 4 people. So what we're hoping is more time between speakers and more time before and after the session starts each day might promote more of those conversations and generate more of that content for you guys. So we're thinking 9 to 4, 9 to 3, thereabouts. Probably wrong, but thereabouts. Miss Ashley has the plan. As always, she is like the scheduling person. Like, she keeps everyone heading in the right direction. I'm jealous of Caleb because she keeps that whole place just running like a top. So anyway, she's going to let us know what our schedule is, because that will be the best idea. It's going to be here in Springfield, Missouri. It's going to be at the DoubleTree. at Kearney and Glenstone. Now, the great thing about this is it's all at one location. So it's a DoubleTree. So we have the hotel, but also they have a really nice meeting area. They've got 4 or 5 really good sized meeting rooms. They also have some charity dinner stuff there occasionally. They're big rooms. So we've got our meeting rooms. We also have a fence outside that we built a while ago that's ready to be cleaned and stained. So that's the plan. So we're probably going to leave. I don't know. I'm going to go clean the majority of it here in probably the next week just to let it cure and all that. Let it dry. I might leave some of it unclean though. So we might do a cleaning demo as well. Possibly. We'll see. Caleb's going to stain that fence. So we can do some hands-on staining. Now, unfortunately, Sean King's going to be out of town. He already had something scheduled. So we're not going to have a fence installation portion of this school. But like I said, that allows us to spend a little bit more time on each subject and allow more time between subjects for you guys to chat and ask your questions and all around have a good time. So information on that, there's a registration link. If you're watching YouTube below, if you're watching Facebook above, there's a registration link for the free training event here in Springfield. I would love to see you guys there. Also, I was getting ready to jump into comments, but for those of you that register, you have to be registered. For those of you that register, we're also having like a private open house here at Ozark Fence. Now, I'm directly copying this from Michael at Chesterfield Fence. It kind of happened organically there. It wasn't really scheduled. But yeah, the last training event was at Chesterfield Fence over in Virginia, Michael and his crew. But a lot of us showed up the day before. So mainly speakers, but some of the attendees showed up the day before. And Michael was so incredibly gracious. Welcomed us into the office, showed us around, let us ask questions. That's what I love to see. I love to see different operations, how they work, how maybe I can pick up a golden nugget here or there and how I can apply it to my business. I love it a lot. So we're going to do that in a little bit more structured of a way this time around. So Standing University is always kind of morphing and growing and evolving. This is one of the ways it's evolving is that we're going to have a private open house for those that are registered. So the way you get more information on that is when you register, then you get on an email list and actually we'll email you the details. But we'd love to have you guys. The private open house is here at Ozark Fence. We're going to have you guys in. We're going to feed you before the event and let you have a walk around. I'm going to have my whole team here available for any sort of questions. And yeah, go from there. Answer any question you guys have. Try to help you as much as we can. So more information on that, you have to register in the link that's either below at YouTube or above on Facebook. Roger says, get a mill to send you some footage. Yeah, we can. We could. I'd like to be there to ask questions. This is absolutely workable. It absolutely makes this thing work for sure. I want to be there though. Like I want to be there and ask questions because I know I know if I see something, I'm going to want to know more about it. For instance, so I visited a mill that we used to buy from down in Arkansas, the beautiful Eastern Red Cedar. Problem is it's a family mill and they just don't have the production capacity to keep up. But one of the times I was down there picking up a load, they walked me through and showed me their new mill. They had just bought it and it was all computer controlled. So what this thing does, my understanding of how this thing works, and I'm sure I'm missing a few steps, the log gets conveyor belted in, and then this thing grabs it and rolls it. And as it's rolling it, it's got lasers that are scanning it. I mean, it's scanning how smooth it is. It's scanning the whole thing. And then it creates a model of exactly the most efficient cuts it can possibly get out of this particular log. And then it gets to cutting. It cuts 2x4s and 2x6s and pickets and 4x4s and everything. That thing is impressive. I would have a few questions about this machine. So I would want to know more about it, right? So I think me getting on site is ideal because I want to make this good. If we do this, it's going to be an incredible undertaking, and I want to get it right. I want to get it so right. And so I think to get it right for me, I would need to be there just to ask the questions. But if we can't make that happen, having the mill send footage would be fine. It's probably going to be stock footage, though. And that while that could work for B-roll, I don't know if that would work for the video. Like I said, I'm going to have some questions. I just know it. Justin Hampton says, let me know when you're in town on the 3rd. I'll buy you a drink at a pool hall I attend. Shoot me an email. joe@thefenceexpert.show comes directly to me. Fence and expert, there are 2 E's. FENCEEXPERT, the fence expert. I say that because I've messed that up before emailing Jeremy. So send me an email. I don't know. I think I'm getting in late though, Justin. I want to say, let's see if it's in the phone. I want to say it's late though, bud. And if it is, I don't know if that's going to happen. But let's see. Yeah, I fly in about 10 p.m. So, and I think that the open house starts early the next morning. Might not happen. Send me an email though, so that if I happen to get there early or things change, that does sound like a good time and I'm in. Zach Payton's here from Jacksonville, Florida. Welcome, Zach. Part of the Florida contingent that always shows up every week. I apologize. I appreciate it. There you go. Des Plains Fence says, what about some training in the Chicagoland area, Joe? You almost had me until you said the Go Cubs business. Go Bears. Okay. Like that's okay. But the Go Cubs, I'm not in on it. I'm not in on it, Des Plains. I'm really not. I mean, because here's the thing. There is one baseball team, and it is the St. Louis Cardinals. And that is the only baseball team, as far as I'm concerned. You ask me, they just play a bunch of other guys. There's one team, and then there's everybody else. Cubs is not that team. And don't come at me with most recent World Series. Don't cut because we'll have a conversation about most World Series, and we can do that. I'm just saying, you lost me at Go Cubs. Now, so one of the things that Caleb and I have been talking about is getting to more areas, trying to get more training to more areas. You know, because that's we're getting out to California. I want to say it's December. Try to hit West Coast because one of the pieces of feedback that we get a lot is that we're basically Midwest and East. Now I believe we have one planned in Texas for the first part of next year. So that kind of handles the South, but it's still not West Coast. West Coast. That's the word. Anyway. But that's true. So getting north would be beneficial. I would want to be there in the summer though. My wife's brother, my brother-in-law, lives just north of Chicago or the Chicagoland area. So he lives over in Kenosha, Wisconsin, about an hour north. I believe that's in what they call the Chicagoland area. Chicagoland is a big area up there. It's not just Chicago, it's all the suburbs because there are a lot of suburbs around Chicago. But we travel up there in the late spring and the early fall, and sometimes we still get caught in winter storms. So the lake effect weather up there is absolutely for real. But we'll add it to the suggestions. I want to make sure, everyone gets helped, right? However they need help. Some guys just want to chat about operations. Some guys have a lot of questions about marketing, or business operations or whatnot. Some guys spend a lot of time with Sean just honing their installation trade, the installation side of the fence business. Everyone needs help in different areas, right? And I want to make sure we help as many people as possible. The problem is there's only so many of us, and there's only so much time available, like I said, before our kids start forgetting who we are and what we look like. So I said what we look like. I guess in today's day and age with FaceTime, I still FaceTime the kids when I'm away, but you get the point, right? And we're also running businesses. So time is tight, but time is tight for everyone. So we got to kind of weigh and balance that, right? So I will add that to the list. We need to get north. If we do get the furthest north we've been is actually Nebraska. So the AFA had a training event up there. Excuse me. In Lincoln, or just outside Lincoln in Waverly, up there at Matt Warner's place. So that's about the furthest. I think those are both words, but take whichever one applies. north that we've been, but we should probably try to get further north. We probably should. Chicagoland area. Ideal Fence, looking forward to the open house. Come on over. Register for the event because that's how we're going to figure out how much food and how much time to allot is based on registration. So for the training event, we will let anybody that walks in participate. The more the merrier, absolutely. For the open house, we need to stick to the registration just because, like I said, we're going to be ordering food based on registration. We're also going to try to create a schedule for the open house around how many people are showing up. If it's a group of 10, we can spend a lot more time in a lot more different places in the office and in the business. If it's a group of 60, that probably looks different, right? So only those that register come to the open house, but registration is free. Everything is free. It's very easy. We just need to know you're coming. Registration link at YouTube is below. Registration link for Facebook is up above. Hit the registration link, but then come right back. Roger says, I can't wait to see the orange and black airplane that you get to make these events easier on your team. That's a thing. So I had started my pilot training. Actually, Caleb and I started at the same time. I caught COVID in mid-July, and that lasted through late August. Like it was crazy. It really took a toll. So just in the last week or so, I've finally started feeling up to because I wasn't super comfortable even in the last few weeks with the idea of getting up in an unpressurized airplane flying around. I didn't know how my body was going to react. So I'm to the place now where I think I'm thinking back to 100%. I have to get medically cleared. I have to go see a doctor and get my medical evaluation out of the way. And then pilot training starts again because to Roger's point, it's going to make it easier on the team. It's going to make it easier on my family. So if I can fly in, do an event, and fly out without worrying about spending an extra 6 or 7 hours in airports, that will make everybody's life a lot easier. So it'll also make it easier to spend an extra half a day somewhere. If someone and I get this has happened at a few events where I get in a conversation, but we don't continue that conversation. We started one evening over dinner and I've got a flight the next morning and we can't continue that conversation the next day. So getting my pilot's license also makes that a little bit easier. So definitely on the radar. It's coming. And one of the airports that I've been training at, or that I was training at, they're building a paint shop, an aviation paint shop. So this guy was very sure to let me know whatever plane I've been looking at planes, whatever plane I find, it doesn't have to be orange. They can make it orange. So that will be coming for sure. Billy Grow, what's up, Billy? Billy and I have been chatting back and forth on Facebook quite a bit. Gulf Coast Fence Solutions checking in from Pensacola, Florida. Got you playing while I'm doing quotes. Good luck on those quotes. Bid them right. Make sure you got all the money in there, which, based on Billy and I's conversations, is going to happen. Good luck on the quotes. Ideal Fence says, is there a special promo code for the hotel stay? Yes. Let me figure that out right now because there is. I just actually got this email because Ashley had that question. Ashley had that question, and I need to see what the answer was. DoubleTree. All right. The answer is so it says if they call, please have them refer to the Ozark Fence Group when making their reservations. So you can reach out to them directly, and we should put this information in the registration. But you can reach out to them directly at area code 417-831-3131. About easy enough. And then you can use the code Ozark Fence Group. So I don't know. You probably can't do it online then. So I don't think that doesn't sound like a promo code. That just sounds like something you tell someone when you call up to reserve it. Nope, that's not true. There is a scheduling link. Now we get to watch a fence guy try to figure out technology and see if I can get it in this chat. So I want to make sure I haven't forgot. Nope, haven't missed any comments. So let's all figure this out together. We'll go to the Facebook first. So Facebook.com/the real Joe Everest. I'm going to open, hopefully this doesn't cause a bunch of issues with the audio, but I'm going to open it up. Did that work? It did work. Okay. And then we're going to go to YouTube. I'm going to drop it in the comments there. So, guys, those of you just joining, this is the scheduling, or this is not the scheduling. This is the reservation link for the DoubleTree Hotel that we are doing the training at, so that you can get some preferred pricing. All right. Let's see if it shows up on YouTube. Maybe. There it is. All right. So if you guys are watching on Facebook or YouTube, check out the chat. It's got the reservation link for the hotel, for the DoubleTree Hotel. Get you a little bit of a discount for some rooms there. Yeah. And we reserved a blocker room. So one thing that the DoubleTree had said is apparently there's some other conferences in and around town, but we reserved a block of rooms so that even if the hotel fills up, we still got room for our people. So as you guys are making reservations, use the links. Well, for you guys, it's not there. For me, the chat is like right along this side. But then I just thought that you guys, the chat is probably somewhere else. It's probably down here. Check the chat. It's got the reservation link. So we've got a link to the, you know what I just thought? Ashley's probably ahead of me on this one. Let us check and see. Let us go to the YouTube. I try clicking on that registration link and seeing. Uh-oh. Need to turn the volume down on this. As we start getting some echoes here. Free training event registration is what it's called in the description below. Yep, we need to put it in there. So I had just sent it to her a couple days ago. So, yep, I will do that. Let me get back over to the correct screen. There we are. I'm back with you guys. I was with you guys on your end the whole time. On my end, it showed something else on this screen that I look at. So that's it. That's registration links. Click those and get some discounted rates. So again, free events coming up first part of October at Chattahoochee Stain. I need to get a hold of Aaron. Is it Chattahoochee Fenton Chattahoochee? Hold one. Let's try calling him. Because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to forget about this immediately once we're done. So let's do this. Let's put him on speaker. Oh, wait. Legally, I have to ask him if we can put him on air, I think. It's ringing. What's up, buddy? Hey, live on the YouTube show, can I put you on speakerphone? All right, Aaron. So you're live with everyone out there in YouTube and Facebook land. What's up, everybody? We're talking about the open house first part of October there at your guys' place. But I keep butchering. I know it's Chattahoochee Stain. Is it also Chattahoochee Fence? Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. But then I was like, you know what? We need to call Aaron just to be sure. So Gotcha. Very cool. Well, that's all I needed. We were just chatting about it for a while. We've got 2 or 3 people watching that are excited to come on out and see you guys, myself included. Yeah, it's like I said, there's 2 or 3 people I've been chatting with in here. Of course, I'm coming, and I said this sounds a little bit pretentious, but the dream team's coming. So I'm super excited to meet the dream team. Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. If you need me, just give me a call. Yes, sir, I will. Thanks for picking up. All right, brother. Thank you. Bye. So they are super busy in building out their office. But yeah, Chesterfield Fence and Stain. So check them out. Or Chattahoochee. Chesterfield is where we were in Virginia. This is all getting boggled around in my mind. Chattahoochee Fence and Stain. They're in Columbus, Georgia. Aaron and Sarah are such good people. I enjoy talking with them a lot. But they are under some pressure because they just moved in or they just got access to their office, and they're building out a stain tank and building out their office ahead of the grand opening because everybody's coming in. So, but if I know Aaron, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be over the top. So super excited for that. All right, guys. If you guys got questions or comments, drop them in the comments below. What else is going on in the fence world? So wood prices started coming back down. Right. So I say wood prices, treated pine prices started coming back down, and then back almost back down to pre-pandemic levels, which was interesting. I really didn't think we'd see them fall that quickly. I think part of the problem is, at least here locally, all the home improvement stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, and Menards, started having treated pine start piling up. They had to sell that stuff. So, and then that put pressure on the wholesalers that fence companies buy from. So, yeah, prices were down. And then, as Billy says, bigots went up. So we saw that same thing. We saw pretty much materials as a whole spike right back up in response to the hurricanes that went through Louisiana and the projected additional hurricanes that might impact the area as well. And at first I had to think about that because I thought, wait a minute, what does a hurricane? Granted, devastation. I am not here to debate that. That is not debatable. It devastated that area. But what does that have to do with fencing materials? Like, they're not going to need fence down there, which some places on the outskirts, I'm sure, only need fence. But if we're talking about the devastated areas, they're not going to be ready for fence for another year and a half. So what does that have to do with fence prices now? Until I got to think about it a little bit more. I was like, well, I bet what's happening is these mills that used to be prioritizing fence materials, amongst other things, are now prioritizing everything to studs, rafters, building materials that Louisiana is going to need to try to rebuild. So I think that's probably what's happening here. Now, how does that affect the materials that are sitting on these suppliers' lots? It doesn't, but they go by market price. So the market price goes up, they price their materials accordingly. Unless they sit for a while, and then I think we'll see the price come back down. But unfortunately, just as we are starting to normalize a little bit, yeah, price gets a little bit crazy. Now we're dealing with steel prices. So both steel and aluminum futures right now are still sky high. So I think it's going to be a little while before we see any sort of reduction in steel. And when I say steel, I'm talking about galvanized chain link, post, fittings, rail, vinyl coated, because it's typically all galvanized core. I mean, it's steel core in general. But we're also talking about ornamental steel, ornamental aluminum. We're talking about wood fence, right? So these steel purpose-built posts, I prefer Postmaster. There's also Lifetime Post. There's other options out there. But they're all facing the same pressure to reprice based on this price of future cost of obtaining steel. Yeah, so it's kind of the double whammy, right? So it's both wood and steel. I'd say double whammy. Vinyl is still fairly expensive if you can find it. Fencing is still in pretty bad shape as far as, especially with pricing, but to some extent, it's still having issues with availability. We priced. What did we price? We priced some oddball aluminum from Stevens Pipe, and I think they said 26 weeks out on delivery, which seems wild to me. Like, I think that's maybe a bit exaggerated. But you never know. I think they're covering their tails a little bit, but you got to tell your customers, hey, the manufacturer told me 26 weeks. So let me know. We need to get their order in as soon as possible. And usually the 26 weeks thing scares them off. So anyway, Landmark Creation says, as soon as wood prices went down, black chain link prices went way up. Yeah. So black coated chain link in general has a few things going against it. One, like I said, futures price of steel, aluminum as well, but vinyl coated chain link has steel core. So steel futures going through the roof affected it. Also, the petroleum refining. Oh, I'm supposed to hold my cup. Supposed to cover it up, I guess. I don't know. Not an ad. I'm just getting thirsty. And my tea place wasn't open this morning when I cruised through. Cruised through a little bit early this morning. They were not open yet. So anyway, yeah. So vinyl pricing. So vinyl coated chain link, color coated chain link is vinyl coated. The wire itself is, and a lot of the fittings are. Sometimes they're powder coated. I understand. Chain link, vinyl coated. It's got several things going against it. So yeah, price is through the roof now. Which when's it come back down? I don't know. So because we're dealing with refineries coming offline, and it's going to take a little while to bring them back online. It's it's madness out there, folks. It really is. So you're right. So we have a client here locally that probably 15, 20 years ago, we built a white vinyl coated fence around their storage lot. They wanted white and went with their color schemes. White was available at the time. Now, say, I don't know, a car crashes through the fence. When you call your supplier and ask for white vinyl coated, they just laugh and laugh and laugh. They think they think you're telling them a joke. And so we had to tell that customer, hey, white's not available. And unknown when it's going to become, it's indefinitely back ordered. So we could certainly place an order, but our order of one roll of wire, a stick of rail, or I think it was 2 sticks of rail, few posts, not going to take priority. They're going to get to that whenever they get to it. So I think we're talking about redoing their fence anyway at this point. But yeah, but black's crazy. Green coated. We've got another client, Bass Pro Shops here locally, that loves green. They're big outdoors fans. They want the fence to blend in with the area around it. So they're big fans of green coated chain link. Now here's one thing that drives me batty. Let me know if you guys have seen this. So when we're talking about green coated, nothing ever matches, right? So whether it's the wire to the post to the rail to the fittings, nothing's ever the same shade of green. Now, same supplier, right? Same supplier of all of those, because we thought maybe that was the issue, because we've been guilty of buying wire from one person and rail from another, depending on how things were priced. So we thought, well, maybe that's a problem. Why these, the rail's not matching the wire. The customer never said anything, but for us, working with it and building it, our face is right there in front of it. And it looked odd. So the next order we built for them, or the next project we built for them, we placed an order with the same manufacturer. The whole thing, fittings, rail, tubing, or rail and tubing, really, post, wire, the whole thing. The problem is they're manufactured by different people. So the green still came in mismatched, and it drives my ADHD bonkers, absolutely nuts when it doesn't match. So we keep pushing them towards black, but they do love green. They love green with privacy slats and privacy screen. They like being private too. So anyway, so we're pushing them towards black, but now black's becoming more expensive, less available. I think we just had a big load of 60-inch black get back ordered, and we asked them when will that be in? Maybe a few weeks. We'll let you know. Oh, that's good. Okay. And then, how are you guys doing for labor? Shortage, easy to get? No, it's the same predicament we've been in for the last few months. So what was it? It was probably a month and a half ago. We had 10 interviews scheduled. 2 of those interviews showed up. Neither of those 2 were employable. Since then we have brought on technically 2 team members. I say technically. So one of them is a guy named Kai. He's an adult that has some special needs. He's on the autistic spectrum. He comes in once a week and helps us around the office, and actually helped the boys out in the shop yesterday wire a gate. So that was neat to watch. But we have brought one team member on for full-time production, and he happened to walk through the door. Asked if we were hiring, asked if he could fill out an application. Yes is the answer to both of those. I mean, we're always hiring, which is odd right now, right? So this is mid-September. I mean, we're getting into fall now. We're on the tail ends of summer. we're in the beginnings of fall, which we hardly ever hire this time of year because we know winter is coming, right? So, and winter is typically a slower time for us. It's never slow, but slower. So we wouldn't typically hire in the fall. We'd typically hire right around first of the year, first quarter. But right now, we're taking anyone that comes through the door, within reason. You still have to pass the pre-employment drug screen, the federal background check, that sort of stuff. But if you can pass that, we will absolutely bring you on because we need to wind up probably 1 to 2 more crews, which then begins the discussion of, okay, so you have in fantasy land that you had all of your materials and all of your labor and all this stuff. We're still dealing with an automotive shortage, right? So 3/4 ton trucks right now. I prefer diesel, but 3/4 ton trucks in general, uh, pretty low supply. Why 3/4 ton trucks? This is another video that we're wanting to work on. Um, it was brought to our attention recently. Um, Another fence company brought this to our attention because so they got pulled over. They had a 1 ton flatbed dually truck, pretty standard for our area, pulling a 16-foot, 18-foot trailer. I don't know how long it was, but the truck and trailer combined capacity, GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating, sounds right. The combined total is over 26,000 pounds. So I mean, a 1 ton truck is what, 14, 15,000 pounds. And then you put any sort of standard trailer behind it that's a commercial trailer, a work duty trailer, it's at least 14,000 pounds. So now all of a sudden, so where this gets into is a commercial driver's license starts at 26,001 pound. Now, this discussion came up in one of the Facebook groups not too long ago. And there was a lot of discussion and not in my state, not in my, in my state, I don't know. Federal guidelines for commercial driver's license are 26,001 pound to be to need your commercial driver's license. Now, you don't have to go for the full-fledged class A. If you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, right? So you probably ought to go for it all. But anyway, what also gets interesting here is a conversation for DOT number, for fuel tax stickers, and all of that. So this company got dinged for all of that. Now they were coming in from out of state too, so that probably played some sort of role in it. But yeah, it was But this officer knew that it was going to be overweight because it was a 1 ton truck and it was pulling a trailer. So he knew instinctively that's going to be more than 26,001 pound. You got to go check it out. Sure enough. So what we're learning is that 3/4 ton trucks, 10,000 pound rating. So our 20-foot flatbed deck over trailer bumper pull is 14,000 pound capacity, which puts us at 24,000 pounds, which is under the DOT requirements for DOT numbers, for fuel tax, for the whole thing. So we are in the market for 3/4 ton trucks. But they're not out there, So even if we could hire if we could find a pool of people to hire and we could find a magical fencing supplier with everything in stock and reasonably priced, we still wouldn't be able to transport these guys around because 3/4 ton trucks are not there. Used trucks, you're paying essentially 4 or 5% under new, or where new should be, which is bonkers. I mean, I understand it's supply and demand. I get it, but it is bonkers to me to pay anywhere near new price for a used vehicle that has no warranty, that usually has no service record. So you don't know how this thing's been taken care of. You don't, because all you're trying to do is figure out how much useful life this thing has left in it, both near term and short and long term. So am I gonna have to do a lot of work on this thing to get it in tip top shape? And what's the likelihood that I'm going to get 4, 5, 6 seasons out of this thing? So, I mean, even our brand new truck, I say brand new truck, we bought it brand new 4 years ago. It's in the shop right now. So it's got electrical issues that they're tracking down. Yeah. So it is a mess. It is absolutely a mess. Now, what I'm hopeful for is once this chip shortage sorts itself out, if it sorts itself out, now you're going to have a massive supply of new previous year model trucks and cars and SUVs come on the market. The manufacturers haven't stopped cranking these things out. They're just filling up parking lots. And when I say parking lots, I'm talking about 80, 100-acre parking lots just full of vehicles waiting for these chips. Once the chips come, what do you think is going to happen to these vehicles? I think they're going to flood the market. And I think the price of new previous year vehicles is going to become very inexpensive. I'm excited for that. I think they're going to come with full manufacturer warranty. I think they're just going to be priced to move because the manufacturer wants to turn these trucks and cars and SUVs into actual money because right now they're just sitting. They're not worth anything right now. So they need to turn them into some sort of currency. So I think they'll come with manufacturer's warranty because, I mean, they are brand new vehicles. They've just been sitting out for a while. But I think they'll be priced very attractively. What I'm hoping for. I'm hoping there's a lot of 3/4 ton trucks coming into the market and we'll go snatch some of them up and turn them into orange chrome. I'm pretty excited for that. This is a loaded question. Miguel asks, can vinyl fencing stand strong winds? Thanks in advance. Preface this by saying I don't build a lot of vinyl fence. We build vinyl fence occasionally. We're not typically in a high wind area. But talking to guys, Mr. Fence up in Evansville, they're further north, so they get a little bit more wind than we do. He's talked on this subject before about vinyl fence being weak. He said it's all in how you build it, right? It's all in how the posts are anchored, meaning set. And it's all in how the rails are attached and how the rails are reinforced. And if the vinyl fence is built correctly, then yeah, it should stand winds. Strong is kind of a broad term, right? Now, is it going to stand up to hurricane force winds? No, but not much will. Standard winds that you might have throughout a year without a special weather event, if you build it right, if you build that fence correctly, then it should be strong enough. Absolutely. There's a lot of guys that cut corners though. And there's some brands that make less expensive material. So that answer can also depend on those two things. Billy says his 05 Silverado value went up $13,000. Yeah, absolutely. It's a 6.6 gasser. So we are currently leasing my wife's Tahoe. We're at the end of a 3-year lease, and the buyout on this thing is about $18,000 less than what they're selling for right now. And that is also bonkers. So, of course, the dealership says, well, hey, come turn it in. We'll get you right into a new one, and we'll even give you a discount on it. Well, no kidding, because I know what this thing's worth, and you know what this thing's worth. No. We will be buying this vehicle. Well, mainly because there's no replacement vehicles out there that, again, reasonably priced. I mean, it's supply and demand. There's fewer of them available. The ones that are available are incredibly expensive. So we're buying the vehicle, and the dealership is not too impressed with that idea. So yesterday alone, he texted me, our rep, texted me twice and called me once, just making sure that's the right choice for us. He wanted to let us know what all our options were. You also want this thing back so you can try to sell it, because you realize you're going to sell it to me for $18,000 less than what you can go put it on your lot for right now and sell it to somebody else. Luckily, as part of the lease, I have a legal option to buy this thing at well below market. This is like one of the few times that this option works out. At the time we were buying and where rates were, a lease made sense. We talked to our accountant. He was like, yeah, it could really go either way, but it seems like right now, lease might be the better option for you. That's exactly what we're doing. Yep. So vehicle prices are nuts. So, to Roger's question, he said, how are we doing for labor? Labor's in shortage. But even if labor figured itself out, like we are living, I'm not the first person to say this. I absolutely understand that. We're living in a wild time right now where we're going to have to figure out what the new normal looks like. Because I mean, we're 17, 18 months into this thing, right? And it's still not looking like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So, I think it would behoove us. It'd be worth us considering making this our new normal. Now, listen, we can also have the conversation that this shouldn't be our new normal, that we shouldn't roll over. I see all this stuff in the Facebook groups too. And I get it. The thing is, regardless of whether you like it or not, it's happening, right? And regardless if you adapt or not, it's going to continue to happen, I think. So the quicker you can adapt and the quicker you can just say, this is our new normal, and we will adjust again if things change, I think the better off you'll be. We're buying materials in large quantity so that we are not as dependent on. So previously, we would buy materials on a weekly basis. And we still do to some extent. We still get a Thursday truck from both Master Halco and Stevens Pipe and Steel. But we're trying to buy more bulk so that we're not as dependent on that weekly truck. Because as we learned with this 60-inch black-coated chain link, truck might not have it on it. It might get back ordered without it. We didn't know the wire was back ordered until the truck showed up and it wasn't on it. Then we called up there. Well, the pick sheet showed it back ordered, right? But we didn't have any sort of notification until the shop still had the pick ticket. We called up, said, hey, the black wire's not on the truck. Oh, it's back ordered. Well, when can we get it? How far out is back ordered? We're not sure. No telling. So we're buying in bulk now, or more bulk. We'll buy in bulk type quantities on some items, but so what we're talking about now is truckload quantities, and not just galvanized, truckload quantities and vinyl coated, so that we can have it on hand, so that we can be the guys that still have it, and we can tell our customers realistically that we're 6 weeks out and we'll be able to come install your fence in 6 weeks. Right now, so what we're talking about right now, the conversation that's going on right now in the office is, do we wait to schedule it until the material's on hand? Right. So which I see both sides of that, but the problem is we don't order the materials till the customer gives us money. So now we're going to ask the customer to give us a deposit, and we can't give them a start date. Right. So they're going to give us a deposit. We're going to order the material, but we're not going to give them an install date till the materials get here. That doesn't feel great, but neither does rescheduling projects. Right. So 6 and 1 half dozen another. Are you going to start rescheduling all your projects, or are you going to start telling your customers, we're not going to schedule your project until the materials show up? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you guys are handling this. I mean, it's one thing I try to stress is there's no one answer, right? So this is all of us as the collective Fence fam figuring out a lot of this together, right? So let me know what's working for you guys. Roger says, planning for the worst keeps you in a strong position regardless of the circumstances. It does. So the downside of ordering in bulk is sometimes you get stuck with it, right? So right now we're sitting on about 2 truckloads, a little shy of 2. Depends on how many bundles you want to call a truckload is. We're sitting on, excuse me. Crazy thing is I got all sorts of sleep last night. We're sitting on roughly 2 truckloads of 1x6.6 Western Red Cedar pickets, Alta boards. So I know what we paid for them, so I know what we're going to have to charge for them, right? What happens when if the price of pickets falls below my price that I've already paid for these pickets? Do we continue to have the same priced fence? You're going to have to, right? So what we've talked about before was with 50% gross profit, you take the total price of your materials for this project, the total price of your labor. The total price of your labor also includes the payroll tax you're going to pay, your payroll burden. Those 2 numbers times 2 get you 50% gross profit. So we know the price that we paid for these materials. What happens when the price of material goes down? We get left at the top, right? So There is that balance. Now, companies, huge retailers, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, can afford to sell these things at a loss to get them off their lot and free themselves up for more inventory. We don't have that option, right? We're not our who is it Kevin Hart? It's like my finances are not set up like that. My finances are a little bit different. I got to stay in my lane. We can't do that. So we will be stuck with 2 truckloads of boards for as long as it takes to sell these things. Now, the upside is if the price of cedar pickets goes through the roof again, which it very well could, we're in decent position on cedar pickets. We can keep our prices lower than our competition that goes and buys their materials from Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards. Two sides of the sword. The one I worry about is the one that, like I said, when the prices plummet. So, it's funny. So how you feel about this is probably pretty telling about your position in company, right? So right now, my nightmares are that the materials we have on hand, the price falls through the floor and we're stuck with overpriced inventory. My sister, who does the selling, would love it if the price of materials fell through the floor. So, you get different perspectives. It means she would sell more fence, right? And my guys would love it if the price of material fell through the floor because they would have more work to do. Now, right now they have 6 weeks worth of work booked up, so they're okay, but they're smart guys. We had this conversation the other day that Thanksgiving's coming. Christmas shopping has already begun. Let that sink in. Christmas shopping has already begun, and it is September. It is still 80 something degrees outside, but everybody needs work, and we want to stay busy through the winter. We want all the work we could ever want all the way through the winter. That would be a dream. So pricing falls to the floor. Now all of a sudden we've got a lot of work. The guys are a lot more comfortable knowing that we've got plenty of work stacked up and it's continuing to come in. Like I said, my nightmare is we're stuck with a lot of overpriced inventory. So uh, two sides of the coin on that one, I guess. There are drawbacks to ordering in mass quantity, and that's part of the conversation we're having now on should we order container load of fittings and should we order massive quantities in rail and tube, knowing that right now steel futures are at an absolute high. Are we buying at the top of the market only to have to sit on overpriced inventory either until a next high comes, or do we just sit here on it and not sell fences as we wait for this expensive inventory to get cleared out? I don't know is the answer. That's everybody makes a decision that's right for them, right? So if I were to guess, we would probably take we'd probably order the material in bulk. Um and I would just continue to stress about the price of material falling through the floor. I'd rather have that stress than have the stress of telling customers no that we don't have their material. So I don't know. Means I need also to buy stock in antacids, maybe. Dylan Blanc, the Fence Prince. What is up, fella? I actually sent somebody your way. I was talking to them yesterday morning. It was a fence contractor also in Louisiana. Wanting to talk about Postmaster steel posts. And I said, well, you know who you need to talk to? You need to talk to the Blancs. They're about 100 miles north of New Orleans, and they sell the fire out of Postmaster posts. I said, you need to check out their marketing, and then you need to reach out to them. So his comment was that his clients wouldn't pay for the upgrade for steel post, which I get it. However, you guys just had a massive storm that snapped a lot of posts. So now I would think would be the easiest time of ever, to sell steel posts. Mr. Customer, half the posts in your yard snapped off at the ground. Wouldn't you like it if they didn't do that anymore? I can sell you a steel post. It's wind load rated for close to twice the amount of wood posts. So a 4x4x8 pressure treated pine post, I believe it's wind load rated for 45 miles an hour. Feel free to correct me. I'm at least close. Postmaster steel post, 72 mile an hour. I want to say the lifetime post, according to their documentation, is a few miles an hour higher, but we'll call it low to mid 70s, right? So not twice as high as a 4x4 post, but pretty close, significantly higher. So I mean, that is the sales pitch I would give, is that, you know, do you want your post to snap again? No, I've got a pretty good solution for you. Kasuric Distributors, hello, welcome. Says, good afternoon, Joe from Philly. Great show once again. Thank you, I appreciate it. I watch a YouTube channel called Luxury Bazaar. Those guys, I want to say those guys are from Philly. Actually, I'm almost definitely sure those are Philly guys. Philly guys are all right. It started off me knowing you guys and knowing that you guys are all right. And I started watching this YouTube channel. I was like, yeah, these guys from Philly, they're all right. They're all right guys. It's a great job for educating your followers. We try. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? We're trying to make sure that everyone has all of the information they need. Dylan has one Postmaster. Okay, I do have one Postmaster job bend. That area had wind gusts of 120 miles an hour. You know, Dylan, you know this better than I do. I would have to think if your area had 120 mile an hour winds, you've got bigger problems than your fence, right? I would say you probably have roof problems and siding problems, bigger problems than fence. And I mean, here's the thing is, okay, so there isn't a solution currently that would have a wind load rating of 120 miles an hour anyway. So the benefit of the Postmaster posts here is that they bent, they didn't break. When these posts break, they turn into projectiles. So if nothing else, it kept one less projectile from flying through the air at 100 miles an hour. An option over steel post is a wood post with our Postmasters. Agreed. Yeah, but what we were talking about was wind load options. So, you know, and I agree. Let me start with, I really like the post saver sleeves. I love them as an option for prolonging the life of a fence in standard environmental scenarios, right? So what we were talking about was the Postmasters having higher wind load rating so that they're less likely to break, right? So I think I want to say a 4x4x8 pressure treated pine wind load rating is something like 45 miles an hour, where Postmaster steel post would be 72 miles an hour. So significantly higher than the wood post alternative. I can never get my hat straight on video. Anyway, if we're talking about longevity, absolutely agree. 4x4x8 post, Postmaster sleeve, 20-year warranty, phenomenal product. When we're talking about areas that have weather events with high winds, the steel is probably going to be the better solution, only because of the higher wind load rating. But you're right. Like I said, I did a video, or I did. Oh, excuse me, guys. Good grief, Joe. So I did a live interview with Al Martin with Post Saver, and I agree with him. I think they're a phenomenal product. I really do. There's guys all over the country that use them. There's a company out west in California. They do something like 40 million a year in fence. They only use Postmaster sleeves on their 4x4 posts. Now they use a hardwood, they use redwood post, but they only use Postmaster sleeves on every single post. That's how much they believe in it. And, you know, I get it. It is a phenomenal product. I love it. But if we're talking about wind load rating, areas that require higher wind load ratings, it's probably going to be the Postmaster post. Trev, Dylan, I'm not even going to. Trev, I apologize. I'm not even going to attempt that last name because I absolutely understand that I will butcher it. Trev L had a Postmaster job ripped up and landed in the neighbor's backyard down the street. Granted, they got hit dead on from the storm. So rather than break this post off, it ripped it up out of the ground. So my previous statement was it kept one less projectile out of the air flying at 100 miles an hour. In this case, when hit directly with a hurricane, it actually doesn't keep one less projectile out of the wind. So it sounds like it ripped it up out of the ground, but didn't break it. So, that's the thing. If I was the manufacturer of these posts, I don't know which post Trev uses, but I would absolutely want to be able to talk about that. Say, it didn't tear down the fence, didn't blow it over. It sucked it up out of the ground and put it in the neighbor's fence. And I would do everything I could to put those posts back in the ground, just from a marketing perspective. From an installation perspective, I would want to start over a new post because you don't know what kind of stress that post has been put under. A lot, presumably. So who knows what that does to the warranty, right? So I don't know. That is crazy. Got sucked up out of the ground, put in the neighbor's yard. Nuts. Guys, those of you just joining, welcome. We've had a great first hour and a half, talking about just all things fence, talking about the free training events that are coming up. The next one is in Columbus, Georgia at Chattahoochee Fence and Stain. Their grand opening for their physical location is also a training event. It's a one-day training event. It's going to be a whirlwind, but it's going to be amazing. The second one is going to be October 28th and 29th. See how I got those dates right? Here in Springfield, Missouri, at the Doubletree Hotel at at Kearney and Glenstone, North Springfield. So the registration for that one is going to be the one that I'm putting on along with Stain Steel Experts is putting it on. I'm providing the location, the groundwork on it. We're going to be staining fence. We're going to be cleaning fence. We're going to talk about business operations. The great thing is it's all at the Doubletree Hotel. Once you get yourself to the hotel, you don't have to go anywhere else. So if you're flying in, they also offer hotel shuttles. So you could quite literally not have to rent a car. Now, Uber and Lyft are here in force, so you could always get around that way too. But once you're at the Doubletree, you're pretty much set. So they got restaurants. There's restaurants all around there. They're really turning it into a business travelers area. So they also have Big Shots, which think competitor of Top Golf. So yeah. What is this? Kenny, are you lost? Kenny, did you get lost? Kenny says greetings from Kansas, but we all know Kenny Dugan is from the great state of Texas. You are in Kansas. How do I say that? There's a joke there somewhere. I'm not in Kansas anymore. You are in Kansas. But you can't say you are in Kansas anymore. You are in. However that joke works, let's say that one. Kenny Dugan, welcome. Stain, man, what is up? Hello, Kenny. So, yeah, if you guys have discussion items, you got things you'd like to talk about, drop those in the comments below. We're scheduled to go for, another hour or so. So, let me know what you guys like to talk about. We talked about the training events. I am super excited. I really am. I think they're all good ones. I'm super excited about this one because I don't have to travel for it. So, there's that. But it's also a great location. It's a ton of fence. It's something like 620 feet of fence that needs stained. So, plenty of fence there. I'm kind of torn. I'm supposed to go clean it all. I'm going to go clean it this week, but I'm supposed to clean it all. I almost wonder if we should leave a few sections uncleaned that we can clean. The problem is because we've got scheduled. I absolutely understand that we will not be staining 600 feet of fence at this training event. So I've got it scheduled that next week to be out to stain that. But if we clean it the end of that week, I doubt it will be ready to stain that following week, knowing that it's in late October, which here in Missouri, late October, it's great fall weather. Probably jeans and jacket, right? But we're not talking about winter weather. But since we are talking about fall weather, I don't know that fence will be ready to be stained that next week. So we might end up bringing some used fence sections out so we can clean those, similar to what we did in Richmond. I don't know. We need to put our heads together on that one. Kenny Dugan says, greetings from Kansas. No, we already said that. That's when I said he went on to say clean half of it. Yeah, so Certainly can. I mean, I'm willing to clean it whatever we need to on this thing. Because also we're going to be doing another video with it. So we started doing a cleaning video for YouTube Thursday, and we're going to do the wrap up for it Tuesday after we give it a little bit of time to dry and show a comparison between the dry, dirty fence and dry, clean fence. But I'm planning on trying to get another video out of this. If we're going to clean this thing, we might as well do a video of it. So cleaning half is definitely an option. I'm just, like I said, Kenny, I'd be worried that it wouldn't be ready for stain that following week. Typically, after we clean a fence, we'll let it dry out for a couple of weeks in the fall, just because the temperatures aren't getting high. Now, humidity's fairly low. But the temperatures, it's usually getting down into the 40s in the evening, usually 60s or maybe 70s in the day. So it's not getting super warm to really dry that wood out. So I would be concerned if we only cleaned half of it and then we cleaned half during the training, that it might not be ready to stain that next week. I don't know. We'll see. Kenny, I'm looking forward to you being up here so much. I'll be there and I can knock it out. We'll see. I will thank you forever, but we do have our staying guys scheduled that following week. I don't know. Kenny, let's do this. Let me reach out to you also. Maybe we do a conference chat. Is that what they call we do a video chat conference, whatever we say, with me, you, and Caleb, just to really try to get the specifics. I'm willing to do whatever, whether it's my guys, if we stay in 100 feet during the same university and my guys come to the other 500 feet, I'm totally fine with that. I'm also fine with them doing less than 500 feet. So I don't know. Let's figure it out. Kirk says, let your followers know we'll be doing a stain and seal training event in spring 2022. Date and time to be determined in Philly. I would love to come see Philly. I'm in. Calendar's filling up fast. So, okay, but spring 2022. Very good. So in winter 2021, we'll be out in California. So the next event is here in Springfield, October of 2021. December of 2021, I believe we'll be in California. And then it sounds like spring of 2022, we will be in Philadelphia, PA. I am so hyped to come see Philly. I really, really am. I've never personally been there. I watched these YouTube videos of guys in the Philly area. I want to come. I am so excited. I am absolutely thrilled. Chris Hunt says, best advice for guys starting a new commercial fence company. Starting commercial is a little bit tougher, only from a cash flow perspective. Well, not only from several perspectives. The main one I would worry about would be cash flow. So commercial has longer turn times on your money. Typically, commercial does not give deposits. Now, occasionally they do. I understand that. Typically, they're draws on larger commercials, so you can do like monthly draws, or we're in the middle of one now that's a draw based on milestones. So we got 25% on purchase order being issued, 25% when all the materials showed up, 25% halfway through the project, final 25% at the end of the project. Now, each of those milestones had their own payment terms. So the first one was net 15, meaning that we got paid within 15 days of having a purchase order issued. Once the material showed up, milestone 2 was net 30. So we got paid 30 days after that. Once the project was halfway completed, it was milestone 3. So we got paid 30 days following that. And then once the project was complete, final 25% was net 60. So 60 days after that project was complete, we got paid the last quarter of the money. Now, I was perfectly okay with that structure. That's a better structure than what you'll find in a lot of commercial projects. A lot of commercial projects are just straight up 30 days or 60 days after project completion, you get paid for your project. So you got to get your cash flow figured out, just because that can really put you in a bind. I mean, think about it. If it's net 60, you've paid for all your material, you've paid for all of your labor, and then you're going to wait for 2 months to get paid on that project. It's wild. Now, that being said, there are companies that specialize in commercial fencing. I mean, that was one of the drawbacks. One of the benefits of commercial fence is everyone is exactly clear mostly on what they want. Usually they're exactly, meaning you'll get specs, you'll get diagrams. Now you'll have to submit shop drawings to show that your product meets the specification so that it can get approved. But all that being said, you get the layout of exactly where this fence is going. Now, a lot of times that's going to change, right? But at least you go into it knowing here's what I'm installing, here's how I'm installing it, and here's the layout. With residential, you can get to the end of the project and a customer says, "Well, that just wasn't what I was thinking." Now you can have a clear-cut scope of work and a contract and all the rest. But there's a lot more emotions involved with residential fencing than there are in commercial fencing. Commercial fencing is typically cut and dry. Here's what I want installed. Here's when I need it installed by, and here's how I'm going to pay you. It's a business transaction. So cleaner transaction, but cash flow tends to take a little bit longer. So I mean, net 30 used to be the standard, 30 days. Now net 60 seems to be the standard. We have one client, their corporate policy is net 120. So you wait 4 months to get paid for your work. And you better believe we absolutely charge for that. And so the way we charge for that is to say, here's the base amount, 100 grand. What would it cost me to go take a loan out for 4 months, take a loan out for $100,000 over 4 months? What interest would I pay for that loan? And then we tie that right into the bid. Now we don't go take out the loan. I mean, technically we're loaning from ourselves, right? We are an internal bank where we're loaning this money. But if we were a traditional bank, what would we get? What would we get paid for loaning out that money for 4 months? We bid it into the project. We don't get a lot of them because there's a lot of guys willing to do that work. They want that big project, right? They want the 3,000 foot of this or that. They want the 4 or 5,000 foot of this or that, or the really fancy gates, and they want all this. And so they'll bid lower on it, and then they get wrapped up in not having cash flow, right? They've got a piece of equipment that goes down that they need to get repaired. Well, they don't have the money right now for it because their cash flow is lagging. The beautiful thing about residential is you typically get paid when you're done. Well, you get a deposit. So we don't schedule a project until we get a deposit of half down. So that's nice. But then also the second part, the project's paid typically when you're done, or we give it 2 weeks grace. So we'll net 15 is the terms we put on residential projects, because some people feel like when you're done and you're at their door and you're ready to be paid, they feel like you're pressuring them into writing you this check, that you're trying to rush off the job and get on to the next one and all that. So we say, hey, you've got 15 days from the day we're done, 2 weeks. Open and shut the gates, walk the entire fence, walk it again. Make sure you love this fence before you write me the check. I want to be completely sure that you are 100% satisfied with our level of service. Typically, we get paid within a few days. They'll walk the fence, they'll write the check, they'll put it in the mail. It takes a few days for the mail to get to us. Cash flow in residential, a lot nicer. This probably depends on your area. Margins are also nicer in residential. So we do 50% gross profit irregardless, residential or commercial. Commercial, there's a lot more guys. Like I said, they want the big projects. And so they're willing to bid it at, what used to be the standard. When I was a kid, the standard was 33% gross. You multiplied everything by 1.5 and you get, 33.33 repeating or whatever, 33% gross. So there's a lot of guys that are still really comfortable at 33% gross profit, which is wild in a day and age where prices are anything but stable. Prices for anything, prices for materials, prices for labor, prices for anything are incredibly unstable. One thing that 50% gross profit margin does, is it gives you a little bit of cushion, right? So you've got some wiggle room in there. If I don't know, if the price of material jumps before we can put an order in, if we get a check on a Friday and we don't place the order till Monday, the material order for that project till Monday, and the price goes up over the weekend, we're still okay. If it's a few percent, it goes from a 50% gross to a 46 or 47% gross profit margin. We're okay. The guy that had 33% gross profit margin, if he's now looking at 28 or 29% gross, that hurts. That hurts a lot because the closer you get to the razor's edge of those profit margins, the more often you get cut with it, right? So, anyway, we hear more yeses on residential than we do on commercial when we're talking about 50% gross profit. Profit margin's better, cash flow is better, but the projects are smaller. So, we'll have 3 or 4 residential projects where my dad runs our commercial side, that we're in the middle of a 6,000-foot project that will take 5 weeks to put in, so his guys are on one project for 5 weeks rather than 4 projects in 1 week. So it's a trade-off. It is. But best advice for a guy starting a new commercial fence company: make sure your cash flow situation's figured out. Make sure you have a line of credit that you can draw against to try to float you through your first several big projects, and don't sacrifice your profit margins. And those are problems I see commercial guys have all the time. Zach Fisher wants no advice for putting a fence against a tree line. Worried about all the roots. Yep. That will be your number one issue is roots. So, I mean, typically we would move a fence line in. We would move it in 1.5 feet or so to get away from tree roots. And we could suggest it. And then if the customer still didn't want to, no problem. But please know that we're basing our proposal on how many man hours we think this project will take. The closer you put the fence to the tree line, the longer it takes to install this fence, the more labor it's going to take, and the more expensive this fence gets. Can I put it closer to the tree line? Yes. Will it be significantly more expensive? Also, yes. As a professional, I'm recommending we bring this fence in off the trees. I can put a gate in the back of that for you so you can get out. You can maintain that land, weed eat the grass in between the tree line and the fence line. But advice for putting a fence up against a tree line is make sure your labor, whatever labor you would have attributed to that particular fence line, double it, because tree roots in some instances are worse than rock. In our area, we deal with big chunk rock, right? So think basketballs, but the basketballs move, right? So if you find the edge of it and you can bring it up, sometimes they're smaller than basketballs, but yeah, tree roots aren't going to move. They are designed not to move by nature. They need to stay exactly where they are. So you find them, you try to cut them. Where are you going to cut them with? A reciprocating saw? Usually. Sawzall is a brand of reciprocating saw that people understand what I'm talking about. Or so a reciprocating saw, you try with a chainsaw maybe, but then you've also got dirt and rock down there that's going to foul the thing up. Roots always take longer. They always do. So first thing I do is bring that fence line in. Second thing I would do is if the customer wouldn't do it, then we would charge accordingly. It's going to take this many man hours probably to get through those roots. Well, now you're twice as expensive as this other bit I've got. Let them learn the lesson, So that's where I would be on it. You guys watching, if you've got a different solution for tree roots, we would all love to hear it. Absolutely. Drop in the comments below. Nathan Clary says floodwater gets in the backyard every year. I have a wood fence, but was thinking about going to vinyl. Would there be any harm to the vinyl fence from the floodwater? Not unless it puts pressure on the fence. So, vinyl is obviously not going to rot, right? It's not going to corrode. Great thing about vinyl. But make sure when that fence is installed that you leave 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the grade to the bottom rail. Now, typically you can cut your grass at 1.5 inches, 2, depending on the type of the grass. I understand. Here in the Midwest, we can cut our grass 1.5 inches, 2 inches. It looks lush and green. It fills up that gap, so the fence looks like it's riding right on the ground. But as that flood water either comes in or recedes, it's not trying to take the fence with it. So you're giving it 1.5 inches, 2 inches for that water to come and go. You don't want to try to make that fence into a dam, especially not with vinyl fencing. If vinyl fencing isn't installed and braced correctly, then it will absolutely suffer. So you'd want to look into a vinyl fence. I would want to look into a vinyl fence with an aluminum stiffener on all the bottom rails. Sometimes fence systems only have aluminum stiffeners in certain parts of the fence or on gates. I would ask for aluminum stiffeners on any part of that fence that's going to come in contact with the floodwater, just so that when it has pressure, if and when that yard is flooding, when the water is either coming in or going out, that stiffener is giving it another line of defense to try to keep that fence system strong. Great question. Guys, if you got more questions, drop them in the comments. Chris Hunt says, thoughts on mini skid steer for residential jobs? We love them. So we use, currently we use Toro Dingoes. Um, good products. One of our subs. So we have in-house crews on residential. We have commercial crew, or we have sub crews on the commercial projects. Just works out better for the way we set up the business. But so our in-house crews all have Toro Dingoes. They're the smaller ones. The contract crew, the sub crew, got one of the big new Dingoes, and that thing is a beast. But I probably wouldn't put it in a residential yard. It's really heavy. It still has the wide tracks, which I love anything with wide tracks. With our turf here, it handles it super well. Now, that's one thing that we need to talk about, is just because our turf handles it well doesn't mean that turf down south will handle it well, or turf in different areas. Like grass is different in different places. So just because it doesn't rip ours up doesn't mean it won't rip yours up. But wide track machines here are great on our turf. So Toro Dingoes. That being said, so we use the smaller ones. The bigger ones I think would be too heavy. So what I'm worried about there, even though they're wide track, I'd still be worried about them causing ruts through yards, right? So smaller Toros would be great. What we're really looking at is, it used to be MT85s, now they're MT100s. The problem is getting those things delivered right now is a nightmare. None of the dealers in our area have them. If we wanted to go drive 13, 14, 15 hours, we could go get one. I'm not that motivated to go get one just because the Toro machines are doing okay. The Bobcat machines have heavier payload capacity. They can also lift up higher. So think dirt bucket can lift up above a roll-off container and drop in it. And they can use full-size Bobcat attachments. Whereas the Toro Dingo, typically, depending on the attachment, it has to be a Dingo attachment. So to fit on the plate that's on this Dingo, or you can buy plate adapters. Absolutely understand. But the MT100s, the MT85s, the MT100s, they can take a full Bobcat attachment onto it. So I like them for a lot of reasons. I have not demoed the Vermeer units. A lot of guys use a Vermeer. Same thing with the Ditch Witch. I haven't used either of them. I don't have personal experience with them. We've got a landscaper that buys fencing material from us that has an MT85. My understanding from him, he has an MT100 that one of his other crews uses. His personal machine is an MT85. What he had said was the MT85 and MT100, the difference is weight packs. So the MT85, you can add weight packs onto them. The MT100, they're just built in automatically. So same lifting capacity, same lifting height, same everything. He loves it. We've driven it around the lot. Actually, we used it to smooth out gravel on the lot. He didn't need it for a few days and said, "Hey, I'm going to drop this thing off." Because I had told him I'm looking to buy one. He said, "Well, I've got a job where I'm not going to use it. Let me drop it off for a couple of days and you play around with it and just see, kind of demo the thing." So we spread gravel here at the lot for a while, and I really like those machines. Thoughts on a mini skid steer for residential jobs? I don't think we'll install them without them moving forward. I really don't. Now, there's an opposite thought. If you talk to Sean King likes having the what are they, little beavers, or the hand augers that go down that have the pull behind motor. Those are fine too. Those work really well. His argument there, which is valid, is if the guys have the piece of machinery, they'll want to use it more as far as just moving around little stuff, right? Instead of grabbing posts and just throwing them through the project, they'll want to load up the machine, take the machine through. I get that to a certain extent. I think it makes them more efficient because they can put a pallet on the. So when this machine rolls out, it rolls out with a bucket, forks, and auger. they can throw the forks on with a pallet. It cannot take a full pallet of Quikrete, but they can take an empty pallet, throw 10, 14 bags of Quikrete on it, take it out and disperse them through the job, where it would have taken more guys more time to do that project. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't think we'll install residential projects without mini skid steers moving forward. I think they're just too handy. We can have a 2 or 3 man crew do roughly the same work that a 4-man crew would do. We used to run 4-man crews. Now our crews are 2 to 3 guys, depending on how many guys we have walking through the doors, right? So, but the skid steer is another guy, essentially, that doesn't call in, that doesn't need to leave early, that doesn't whatever. As long as you keep the thing maintained, purrs like a kitten, keeps on going. So I love him. I love him a lot. The man, the myth, the legend, Matt Warner's in the house. Howdy, buddy. Howdy to you, Matt. Hope you're doing super, super well. I need to reach out to you we've talked about it twice now. And every time I ask Matt, I say, hey, you want to come on the show? He's absolutely, I'd love to. I just got to get him dates. I know we talked about this last week, but I say we here on the channel. I talked about needing to get you on, Matt, and I need to just send you an email with some dates and see what works for you. I would absolutely love to have you on, because Matt runs a fencing business, Empire Net and Fence, and where Matt's business is now is where I aspire our business to be in the future. Not necessarily doing netting. I don't feel comfortable doing the netting because, so Matt, here's one of our questions that I want to talk to you about. These posts that are like 40, 50, 60 feet tall, how do you get those things perfectly plumb? That seems wild to me. Now, there's probably a trick to it. You probably have that all figured out. That's what I want to learn. So anyway, but do I see us doing net like Matt? No, because Matt does net incredibly well. It does it all over the world, actually. So we're going to stick with what we're good at. But I can't wait to have Matt on and talk about his business and how it runs, because so we were up there in Waverly, up at Empire. Gosh, what's it been now, man? It's been maybe a couple months ago. And to see his facility, very impressive. But to see how his team works within that facility, to see how they're organized and how just the culture that's going on in that building, I was super impressed by. So I would love to learn more from Matt. Absolutely. So look forward to that. But well, guys, if you guys have more questions and comments, I'm willing to stick around for a while. If you guys have questions, comments, if the questions and comments dry up, we might end this thing early. You just never know. Nathan Clary says, I haven't recently checked prices, but our fencing prices back down. Oh no, they're still high. No, they're especially Nathan, in talking about vinyl fencing. Vinyl fencing never really went down. The treated pine market here in our market went down for approximately 3 or 4 days before the storms hit Louisiana, and then they shot right back through the ceiling. Vinyl has a lot of issues going against it. Namely, it's a petroleum derivative, right? So you have that issue. Vinyl's got a lot of problems right now as far as pricing. The product doesn't. The pricing and availability does. So no, the prices are still just as high as they've ever been, and availability is a big problem too. Matt says Operation Epic was awesome. It absolutely was. I haven't picked up on it until just right this second that Epic is spelled with an exclamation point. I love that so much, Matt. I absolutely do. Operation Epic was the training event that Matt's team put on there at Empire up in Waverly. And man, it was an experience. I was going to say what an experience. It was absolutely an experience. It really was. I'm hoping we can do some version of that at the training event here in Springfield. So those of you guys that are just joining that weren't here earlier, we're having a Stainless Steel University training event here in Springfield, Missouri, October 28th and 29th located at the Doubletree Hotel. The great thing about it is the hotel has a fence that we built years and years ago that's ready for cleaning and staining. I'm going to go clean a good portion of it. We're going to stain it on site so we don't have to leave to go anywhere. Also, dining's on site. They've got entertainment across the street. They got a place called Big Shots. Think Top Golf, but different. It's a competitor to Topgolf. It's a lot of fun. It really is. And it's right across the street. You also have, so they have, like I said, they have restaurants in the hotel. They also have, gosh, they've got an Applebee's across the street. They got a Culver's question mark right next to Applebee's. I don't eat there often, but they got dining options there. They also have really good barbecue down the street. So anyway, the idea is you don't have to leave. Once you get there, you don't have to leave. Now, Uber and Lyft are definitely a thing. So if you're coming to town, you only need to rent a car unless you want to. If you want to, that's fine. The hotel has shuttle service from the airport to get you to the hotel. So before the day before the event on October the 27th, Wednesday, we're having everyone that registers for the event over to Ozark Fence for a private open house if they want to come. So, it's not an open house in general just sounds like invite the community and past clients and everybody over. I want this to be much more intimate. So we're calling it a private open house for those that are registered. It's a day with my team at our office. So the whole team is available. Everyone from production, fabrication, retail, sales, marketing, everybody's going to be there. We're going to bring in food. We're going to cater in lunch. It's going to be a really good time. I'm excited about it. I really am. Like I said, I'm going to make everybody available because you guys could have all the questions in the world for me, and I'm proficient at answering them, but I hire people better than I am at their given tasks, right? So if you had a question about sales, I would love to talk to you about it, but I could also introduce you to Sarah, who is better at it than I am. Same thing with production. Same thing with fabrication. I can introduce you to the people at my company that do it better than I do. They can give you a better answer than I can, maybe. So excited for that. I'm excited for you guys just to come in, and I would love to hear your feedback because there's a lot to this building that I don't know what we're going to do with yet. So we went from 1,500 square feet at our old location last year. First part of this year, we bought this building that we're in now. April or May, I think we moved in to, it's about 15,000 square feet. It's a lot more. There's just a lot more going on here. And there's a good chunk of it. I have no idea what we're doing with it. So I would love to hear your feedback as well. Registration link is in the description. If you're on Facebook, it's in the description above. If you're on YouTube, it's in the description below. There's a registration link there. Also, there's reservation links in the comments, I guess on both YouTube and Facebook. We've established comments are below on both of those. There's registration links, so it gets you a little bit of money off. Also, if the hotel happens to book up, because I guess there's a few conventions in town that weekend, they've got a block of rooms reserved for us. Use the reservation link. I don't get anything from the reservation link. I don't want this to sound like an affiliate anything, but it gets you a better rate and it gets you guaranteed rooms. So, Nathan says, I heard you use Evansville, Indiana as an example of one of your other videos. Do you work in Evansville? We don't. So Sean King, Mr. Fence, is out of Evansville. As somebody I have on the show occasionally, I talk to pretty regularly. They operate out of Evansville, Indiana. They operate out of a lot of Indiana. So if you're in that market, I would recommend you reach out to Mr. Fence, Sean King specifically, but that guy's everywhere. He's doing a lot of on-site training. So reach out to Mr. Fence if you're in that area and see if your project is a good fit for him. If so, I would highly recommend them. Chris, great question. We've got what do we call these? We call these not reservation links. We call these, I don't know. We sign up links. Are we calling them sign up links? I'm a fence guy trying to do technology, but anyway, we've got the links in the description. If you're watching on, so let's see, Facebook quote or Facebook comment, it's in the description above. It should be a reservation. It's not a reservation link, Joe. That's a hope for hotels. But anyway, to reserve your spot, the sign up link is in the description. It's also this afternoon. So right after this, I'm going to be adding it to our Facebook page, the Joe Everest Facebook page. So facebook.com/The Real Joe Everest. In the events tab there shortly, I'll be creating it as an event with the sign up link there as well. Matt says something that's been on my mind. How much inventory should we take into winter with all the supply problems? Exactly. So I'm so glad you're here to talk about this, Matt, because this is something I was just randomly talking about earlier today was, do we take on Do we take on extra supply because the supply line's having issues? So, which does a couple things for us, right? So, what I hate telling my customers, so this conversation started with me saying that we had 5-foot black coated chain link got back ordered, and we didn't realize it till the truck showed up. We didn't know, and so now we had to reach out to the client. Well, we reached out to the supplier, say, when do you think it's going to be in? They said, it could be in the next couple of weeks, or it could be on next week's truck. We'll let you know. Okay. But we had to reach out to the client and let them know. So say, we've got your post, we've got your rail. We're going to cut set posts. We're going to rail it. We're going to put gates up. We're going to get everything done. And then when the wire shows up, we're going to make another trip out and we're going to wire that entire thing. So that spurred this discussion of, if we ordered in bulk, now in this exact scenario, it's 5-foot tall black coated chain link. We don't do a lot of that, so that's not something we would have in stock. But the conversation could turn into, 4-foot black coated is probably something that we would stock if we're making a large, inventory order. So the conversation could be, we don't have 5-foot in stock. I don't know. The supplier doesn't know when we will. We do have 4-foot in stock, and I can have the guys bring that out if you're willing to have a 4-foot fence rather than a 5-foot. We give them options, right? And let them make the option that's better for them. Maybe they say 2 or 3 weeks, no problem. I don't need it right now anyway. We're getting a puppy in the spring for Easter or something. One of the few clients that actually plans ahead in this fictitious scenario. So that spurred this whole thing. I don't know, Matt. So I would be interested to hear your thoughts on that, because two sides of the coin. One, you lock in your price by having a massive inventory. 2, you lock in your availability because it's here on your lot. You can go touch it if you want to. It's available. The problem is, or what makes me nervous, what gives me heartburn, is what happens when you bring in a truckload of wire, 4-foot, 11.5 gauge, what we use all the time. What happens if you bring that in at a price, and then 2 weeks later you bring a truckload, which is, it could be 2 months worth of supply for you, 3 months maybe, first, you never know. Call it 2 months worth of supply, and 2 weeks later the prices drop through the floor, right? So now you're sitting on a truckload of this stuff that you've locked in your price. For better or worse, the price is the price. What do you do in that scenario? Lowe's and Home Depot, Menards, they've got, their finances are a little bit different to where they can just offer it as a loss leader at whatever market price. They could sell it below cost, knowing that it frees up inventory for cheaper material and it brings customers in the store, and they can justify it a lot better than someone like I can. So this conversation is going on in this office right now. Not right this second, but right now, currently, right? We're gonna continue the discussion on Monday. My instinct is that we will start placing bulk orders and just take the chance that the prices happen to go down. I mean, we're going into winter though, and winter historically is when suppliers get oversupplied on materials and they start offering either better terms or sometimes discounts, not a lot of discounts. Usually they'll stretch terms out, payment terms out. I don't know. Winter is historically when materials get less expensive and we get better offers on it. So that's why this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction of, place the order. Is now the time for the order? Or do we wait? Do we wait a few months wait for first quarter to get here and then make the order in first quarter? I don't know. I think it's a coin toss. I really, really do. I mean, I can make an argument either way on it. I like having it available. I think that's the way this is going to fall, right? I like having it available. And for better or worse, I think I like to lock in the price because I know where it's going to be, right? There's not a question mark. When a customer calls and says, what is my project cost? It isn't, let me have my supplier bid it and get back with you. I like having it here. I really do. I think I'm willing to take the risk on prices falling through the floor, knowing that that's probably not realistic. Falling through the floor. I mean, I could see them I could see them moving 5-10% either way, but I don't falling through the floor is probably not going to happen. The problem is, the bulk order. I keep saying the problem. There's a couple. Um, is the bulk order we're going to be making would be galvanized and color coded chain link. It's going to be steel. Right now, steel is the most expensive the futures have ever been. I don't know that there's a lot of room for them to go any further higher, which is kind of the risk reward here. Is what, if you buy at a certain price and the prices go up, that's your reward for having it on hand. You can either offer it at the same price and be lower than your competition, or you can offer it at market price. You've got options. I don't know that there's a lot of upper mobility left in steel. But people said that about wood for a while too. So I think I see your comment here. So more than normal, I think so. I really think so. And then you go on and say, I really think that we're going to try and stay heavy on inventory, but it really is a risk, and it's now the time for the risk. That's the thing is now the time. I don't know. So getting into our finances a little bit. So we're still waiting to be funded for the EIDL loan, the readjustment on the EIDL. Every Monday, I give them a call, see what's going on with it. And every Monday, it's your paperwork's been accepted. This and that. You've checked the boxes. We need to have you assigned to a loan officer so that we can get. So everything's like in the system has been approved. The system has approved it, but they have to have a loan officer actually put eyes on it because fraud is a real risk. They need to make sure that we're a real company, that our finances are real, the numbers are real that we sent them, that they match the tax transcripts that they ordered from the IRS. It's a process, apparently. Now, a ton of people have already been funded on this, which has me just a little bit perturbed about it. But if you got a group of people, you got to have somebody first, you got to have somebody last. Just not everyone can be first. Not everyone has to be last, but somebody's got to be last. I got a feeling I'm on the tail end of this thing, but if the EIDL money shows up, so EIDL, for those that don't know, it's a low interest loan from the government, from Small Business Administration. Key term there is it is a loan. It is 3.75% over 30 years with some deferred repayments, 24-month deferred repayments currently. And actually, so the ceiling has actually increased on how much you can take a loan for. Unfortunately, you cannot increase your limit until your first round is funded. So I digress. If the EIDL money was sitting in the bank, that would make this conversation a lot easier too. Now, granted, we're gambling with our own money. It's a loan that we took out, but it makes it a little bit easier to take that risk, I think, knowing that it's money we hadn't counted on having available, so we could tie it up in an inventory and be okay, without affecting cash flow. But but it's a risk, when you look at the reports and you see the dollar sign of value that's sitting tied up in inventory, gives you a little heartburn. If you're me, it adds stress to my life, and I'm not trying to add more stress to my life, but there's a reward, right? Like this is the life of an entrepreneur. It's like, I think I might be falling off a cliff, but I might be able to build an airplane on the way down, and it could end up higher than where I am right now. But I'm also stepping off a cliff. That seems to be my life lately. But we'll see. What do you think, Matt? What do you think? You said you really think we're going to try to stay heavy on inventory. That's kind of that's the way I'm leaning. But I want this to be a group discussion, though. So in the discussion, myself, my sister that runs our residential, my dad that runs our commercial, and he was our previous owner for years and years. It's times like this I wish my granddad were here. I mean, he's seen some life, right? He's gotten us through a lot of sticky situations. So I would love to hear his opinion on if this looks like something that he's seen before. Um, but you play with the cards you're dealt, right? Don't have that option. So, yeah, this is a group discussion. I because ultimately, we're making decisions that are that affect the company. So you try to take a poll from the leadership on what they think. However, it's also not a democracy. We don't vote, right? So I think I'm with you, Matt. I think we'll probably be placing orders for to keep inventory up. We'll probably be doing truckload bids on or truckload orders for wire, pipe, post, and tube. Pipe and tube. That's the same thing, but wire, post, and fitting. Probably be ordering a container of fittings, knowing that a container from overseas won't be here for a few months. But that's okay. When it does get here, we will be in good shape. We don't need it right this second, but when it does get here, I think it'll put us in better shape. So, and things in India seem to be improving. So, for those of you who don't know, so fence fittings typically come from the main three countries: um, India, China, Pakistan. Are kind of your three forerunners in fencing fitting chain link fitting suppliers. Can't do business with Pakistan, so that leaves us India and China. India had COVID 2.0 run through their country just rampantly. So, but things are improving there. So we actually lost communication with the mill in India that we had been talking to because everyone got sent home and everything got shut down. So I'm hoping that probably ought to send out an email to them this week, just seeing, hey, is everything okay? And are you guys back to making fence fittings? I don't know. We'll see. I'd like to continue this conversation. Um, I think it's a big one, and it's a conversation that should not be taken lightly as far as stocking inventory. If you don't do it right, it could bite you. Chris says, as a company, is it better to stay small, one or two small crews, versus grow to a large company, 8 to 10 crews, mainly from a stress or risk reward standpoint? Great question. Great question. So we're kind of in between these two levels where you say, right? So 1 to 2 small crews. So right now we've got, I say 4 to 5 crews. So our subcontract crews, what Matt would call partners. We've got a crew that's family, meaning a dad and his 2 sons. But the dad's brother also builds fence. Their dad, who taught them how to build fence, will also come on a crew and build fence. So they're typically one crew, but like on the 6,000 foot job, now there are 3 crews. They've brought all the family in to jump in on this one. So 4, 5, 6 crews thereabouts, depending on how many of them are up and running at the time. Um, all right. From a stress standpoint, I think one or 2 crews is less stress than 8 to 10 crews. For me. So here's how I put it is, so we have, counting myself, we have 12 employees, team members, however you would like to phrase it. I have 10 people that I'm directly responsible for. Each one of them has family. We've got 2 single guys, but you get it. We've got some other people that we are indirectly responsible for. So, we've got, well, and let's our subs depend on us too. Now, could they go find other work easier than our team members, our employees? Yes, they probably could. They've got trucks, tools, and equipment. They also, in order to be a true subcontractor, they also do work for other people, so they could pick up more work elsewhere, probably. But they depend on us, right? They get a check from us each week, so there's, I think, when you factor in families, I think there's probably 70 or 80 people that rely on us on a weekly basis to bring in money. Um, that is stressful. That can be stressful. because you're making decisions that could affect them. I mean, to Matt's question, this inventory, so we lock up a couple $100,000 in inventory. I cannot pay my team members or my partners, my employees or my subs with fence pickets or steel, 2.5 inch, 8 foot galvanized steel posts. I cannot pay. They want money, and rightly so, because their mortgage company doesn't accept payment in fencing materials either. So I lock up this money in assets, in inventory. That reduces the amount of money I have to pay them should insert disastrous event occur, right? So through the pandemic, we kept everyone paid. Now, as the pandemic went on, the PPP program came out, and that absolutely helped. But there for a little while, we were on our own, right? We were making payroll whether we were allowed to work or not. Now, we worked through it for the most part. We worked the entire time through the pandemic. And actually, so one of our suppliers is a national food chain, or one of our customers is a national food chain. So they actually issued us a letter from Department of Homeland Defense that said not only can you work, you are compelled to work if asked by insert customer's name. So if they needed a fence repaired, not only could we work, the Department of Homeland Defense compelled us to go work. So we worked throughout the pandemic. But I mean, there was times where business got slower when everyone was trying to figure out, was the world ending, where we still passed out full paychecks because people's bills were still coming and they didn't know. We didn't know, right? So one less worry on their plate is better for everybody. So payroll kept right on running. If we had a couple $100,000 extra in inventory, that would have made that more stressful for me, right? Would have been less available for payroll. But cash flow is better on larger companies. You have more cash flow because you have more work in general. You can also buy materials in more bulk and get better pricing. And, sometimes when we were in the middle of the pandemic, it wasn't necessarily pricing, it was availability. So it was some suppliers were taking care of their accounts from the top down. Their biggest accounts got help first and then on down to everybody else. So it really came down to what your purchase history looked like with them. The larger companies were helped first. So that was definitely a benefit of being a larger company. I don't know. Is it better? I mean, define better. So, mainly from a stress or risk reward standpoint. Larger company has bigger risk. It also has substantially larger reward, right? So if we're talking about gross profit as a percentage of revenue, the more revenue we bring in, the more gross profit we bring in. And now net profit also goes up, right? But if you're operating on 10% net profit, which is kind of middle of the range for fence companies, I think, then the more that comes in the top is the more that's left at the bottom, right? So the reward is greater, the risk is greater, and the stress is greater. So it depends, right? It really depends. There's guys that run one or two crews and they are in their ideal stage of life, right? They don't want to that is their Goldilocks zone. They don't want to get bigger. They don't want to get smaller. They're perfectly fine where they're at. And then you talk to guys that run companies that do 40, 50, 60 million a year, and they wouldn't dream of bringing that down to a couple million a year because they're in their Goldilocks zone. They don't want to be bigger. They don't want to be some of these guys that run 120 to 150 million a year, but they also don't want to be the guys that do 2 or 3 million a year. At 40, they're comfortable, right? So I think this is a personal question. I mean, right now, I think we could grow a little bit more. When I say we at Ozark Fence here, I think we could grow a little bit more. So we're actually doing the numbers this morning. So we were shooting for 2.5 to 2.6 million this year. I think, well, so far we've done 2.1. So we've still got a whole nother quarter. Well, we got half a month left this month and we got a whole another quarter to go. So I think based on numbers, I think we're trending to 2.8 to 3. I think we could probably grow to 4. I think that's probably where there's another level for us, like another management layer. There's more equipment, there's more stress. So, Sean King and I were talking about this before, and he kind of likened it to a manual transmission automobile car. Let's call it a sports car instead of automobile. It's a Corvette, right? First gear, it lags, it lugs, and then right up the RPM band, and then it's rip roaring. But if you leave it at that rip roaring too long, it'll blow the engine. So you got to shift to second. It lags for a minute, it lugs a little bit, and then right up the RPM band, and you got to shift it. I think we're in the middle of the RPM band or whatever gear we're in, right? So I think that number is closer to 4 million a year in revenue. Um, knowing that we're going to probably end 2.8 to 3, we still got some RPM band left to go. I don't know. Is it better? Is it worse? I don't know. It's comfortable for me. And the team I have built, like, it's comfortable for us. It's not good to be comfortable. You always need to be a little bit uncomfortable, I think. It keeps you on your toes. It's a great question. And I think the answer is it depends. And I know that is not that is a non-answer answer, maybe. But I hope the insight helped. It really depends on you, Chris. It really does. Like, what is your comfort level at? The larger you get, the more comfortable you have to be with management. Hiring management, putting management in place, whether you are the management or maybe you don't want part of the management, you want to stay on one of the crews, which is fine. There are guys that love building fence and then they hire out the management layer of their company. Perfectly okay. Larger companies have more management. So are you okay with that or not? If not, a smaller 1 or 2 crews probably be great. You could be the management layer all by yourself, and that's absolutely fine. I don't know. Is it better? Is it worse? Depends on the person. I really think that. Grab a drink. Not an ad. I'm just getting thirsty. And my tea place was closed this morning. Oh, they're supposed to open at 7:30. They were not open by 7:30, so I had to keep on moving. Is there a place in the Nathan Clary asks, is there a place in the Midwest that sells to the public where I can buy fencing at wholesale price? No. No, I mean, I think the benefit of wholesale is you buy in such a quantity that's not available to retail or to the public, right? So, well, I mean, okay, let me rephrase that though. So say like we're in the Midwest and we have 2 different price rates. Yeah, so the answer is yes, I guess. So we offer different price rates for contractors and the public, right? So, but now when you're talking about suppliers, if you're talking about the people we buy from, you have to have an account and you have to have a certain spending level or purchase history to buy from them at these wholesale prices. I mean, the whole benefit or the whole reasoning behind wholesale prices is the company is saying, all right, I will sell to you at a lower price, knowing I'm selling you a bunch of stuff. But if we're not selling a bunch of stuff, we're going to sell it at the retail rate. So, and each each manufacturer and supplier has a different level. Some of them require you to have a storefront with your name on it. They used to require a Yellow Page listing, but that's not really a thing anymore. You have to have a physical location and all that. Like, you have to be a professional business, right? So, are there places? Sure, we sell wholesale, but you have to meet a certain purchasing threshold before you get there. I mean, you're asking me to make less money selling you the thing. I'm okay making less money on this thing if I sell you a bunch of things, right? But as a business, it doesn't make sense for me to charge you less for the thing if you're only buying a few things at a time. Hope that makes sense. Chris Hunt says advertising, best bang for the buck for a fence company. If you ask me, Facebook videos, organic Facebook videos. Quite literally, with your phone. Facebook account is free. You've already got a phone. Phones aren't free, but you already got it. You already have to use it on something else, a smartphone. And the videos are literally, hey guys, Joe with Ozark Fence. I just want to jump on here real quick and introduce myself because it's been brought to my attention that not everyone knows me. And while that is surprising, I want you to know me. And I want you to know the business, Ozark Fence. And that it's you talking live about who your company is. It's for free. You can also do Facebook advertising. Now, Facebook advertising is more for fencing. My opinion is more for branding than it is for sales, right? So if we're talking about best bang for the buck, it sounds like we're talking about sales. Will this dollar make my phone ring? Sort of thing. The dollars that make your phone ring are typically on Google, pay per click. But it's more dollars. I would suggest you hiring a company that does that because Google and Facebook will absolutely take your money and do the thing you tell them to do, whether it's going to work or not. Right? It is not their business to tell you if how you set it up is the correct way, right? And we do our Facebook advertising in-house because I understand it super well. We figured out how to make it work and it works consistently. We handle that in-house. Our Google pay-per-click, we outsource that. I tried to do it. It is German and I know how to speak English. And so we hired a company that knows how to do it. They're called Search Kings. They're out of Canada, not California. I'm not affiliated with them. I pay them full price, but that's who I use. They're really good at it. They also charge a monthly management fee, so it's more expensive. Then you get into traditional advertising. You can get into Facebook, or not Facebook. Traditional would be radio, television, billboards. Do they work? Sure. But do they work in the way you want them to work? Billboards are great for branding, great for exposure. If you can put money into something that you don't need to see direct ROI on, sure. They keep your name out there. They keep it up in the sky, and the traffic counts they give you will be very impressive. Now, 60% of the people in a car, that includes the driver, are on their cell phones. Are they paying attention to billboards? Probably not. So you got to figure out, will it work? Yes, to some extent. Is it worth the money that they want to charge you? That's a whole different discussion. Best bang for the buck. Best bang for the buck. I really think it's video. I really think it's organic video because it can let you form this relationship with your potential clients. And they can realize that you are a person, that you're not a faceless company corporation, right? That there's a person that they're going to get to do business with rather than just a company. People will form relationships faster with people rather than companies. So if you've heard, and guys, this is the talk I give, whether it's in Nashville or Richmond or I almost said Augusta or Columbus, Georgia in the first part of October, or here in Springfield in the last part of October, I'm going to talk to you about doing video because I am passionate about it. I saw it make a significant difference in our business. I've seen it make a significant difference in other people's business. I am a believer. I drink the Kool-Aid. I'm going to try to get you to drink the Kool-Aid. Video is the way. And it's low cost. You got a smartphone in your pocket. Facebook business accounts are free. Do that. Combine the two. Do video. Put it on Facebook. Introduce yourself to your clients. So that best bang for your buck, my opinion, that's where it's at. Is it better or worse? Answer is yes. I think Roger was talking about the size of a company. Yeah, that's right. Yes and no, depending. Wes Forrester, welcome. Hey, happy Saturday, Fence fam. Precisely, Wes. Absolutely. Hope everyone out there in the Fence fam universe is having an incredible Saturday. Taylor, Miss Fence Expert says, hey, hello, Taylor, hello. So if Taylor's watching, that means little boy Jackson is also watching. So Action Jackson, hello, little man. Josie's probably also watching, but Josie can't say hello because Josie's like 8 months old. But hello, Josie. Nathan says, copy that. Roger, Roger. All right, guys. 2.5 hours, which is typically where we cut this off. If you guys have any last minute questions or comments, drop those in the comments below. I don't have a hard out today. I would like to go play with the kiddo. So, but if you got a question, I'm here for it. Oh, okay. So Jackson is with grandma. So is Josie. Can't blame you there. Can't blame you there at all. Chris Hunt says, I want to take a second and thank you for all the info. Absolutely. That's Chris. I thank you because this live Q&A is made for answering the questions you had. So I will accept your thank you and give it back to you and say thank you for making this an educational Q&A. Like, this is what I love, really. This is why we did it, is to try to answer these questions at scale. So, guys, another plug for the training events coming up. They're totally free. Oh, let's talk about it. So some people will say, well, totally free. Well, what's in it for you? What's in it for me is I get to meet more people and introduce them to my YouTube channel. That's what's in it for me. So usually the hosts of these events end up spending money to make these events happen. Like in Columbus, the first part of October, they're spending money to have this business be open in time, right? Or to have their location be open in time. This is also going to be their grand opening of their new location. They're spending money to host everybody, right? So, but what they get out of it is they get to introduce themselves and their business to area businesses to say, hey, we will sell these fence tools. We'll sell this fence stain. If you need the stuff that we taught you for free, we have it for sale here. That's their end, right? Or that's what they get out of it. And the event in Springfield that we're hosting here, the DoubleTree Hotel has been very gracious. They have been incredibly gracious as hosts. They're giving us use of the meeting room for free. They're giving us discount on hotel rooms, with the trade-off being that we're going to stain their fence, right? That's what they get out of it. We get out of it free stuff. They're also feeding us lunch both days. They're providing drink stations both days because they're getting fence stain out of it. However, we're bringing in a contractor to do the audio visual, the projector screens, the audio. I want it to be nice. So I'm paying for that out of our pocket. Not a huge expense, but it is an expense, right? When Matt hosted everyone up in Waverly, he had expenses related to hosting people there. But he got to introduce himself to other people. I get to introduce myself and this YouTube and Facebook channel to other people. That's why I get out of it. That's why this event is free. So the free events, let's plug them again. We're going to be in Columbus, Georgia, October 4th, maybe the Monday. So I think it's the 4th. Sarah gets married on the 2nd. I fly out on the 3rd, there on the 4th, home on the 5th. It's a bit of a whirlwind in early part of October. Last part of October, October 28th and 29th, we are here in Springfield, Missouri. Not here. Well, we will be here at Ozark Fence. If you are registered for the event through, I guess it is a registration link. That didn't sound right when I said it before, but it sounds right now. If you're registered for the event through the registration link, if you're watching on YouTube, it's below. If you're watching on Facebook, it's above. It's also at facebook.com/Joe Everest. If you register there, then also on the 27th, we're hosting everyone here for a private open house. You have to be registered for the event, so I know how much food to order. If you show up at the event ready to learn, we would love to have you. Registration is not required. It's encouraged, just so we know who's coming. Not required. Registration is required for the private open house on the 27th. Registration link is above or below, depending on where you're watching. It is totally free. I just need to know if you're coming or not. So that's the thing. Chris, thank you. And guys, thank you guys. Thank you, Roger and Wes, and Nathan. Let me scroll. Of course, thank you, Matt, for the great discussion about inventory. Let's scroll. I want to say thank you to everybody. So Zachary Fisher, Conserg Distributors, Kenny Dugan, thank you, good sir. Dylan Blanc, Roger again, Billy Groves, Landmark Creations, Ideal Fence, Des Plaines Fence. There are some spammers. Got them out of here. No thanks to you. Z Seeds, Walt Dennis, Cannon Johnson, Mark Weber. Not Mark Weber, Mark Webster. Anyway, I might have missed you guys. If I did, I'm sorry. If you contributed by asking a question or making a comment, thank you. You guys and gals make this incredibly enjoyable for me, and you make it educational for those out there like yourself that are watching, and I appreciate it. And that's why I'm here. I'm here for you guys. But guys, till next time. So again, this is the last Q&A for about a month between AFA Midwest chapter meeting next weekend, next Saturday out in Oklahoma. Following that, it is my sister's wedding that I'm a part of. And then after that, what did we say it was? Something after that. Hold one. That. So we got AFA. We got, I'm in a charity sports shoot for Special Olympics. Well, for Sporting Chance, which is a version of Special Olympics. And that's on a Saturday. And I'm going to do that. Try to raise money to help people participate in sports that wouldn't normally get a chance. So, and then after that, we'll be back. We'll be back for a week. And then it's the live training event here. So I'll see you guys there in person if you're coming. Again, if you're coming, hit that registration link. Guys, for now, until next month, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. I can't wait to see you again.